podcast for ProjectFandom.com. I'm your host, Nina.
And I'm Sarah.
And we are back to discuss House of the Dragon, Season 1, Episode 9, The Green Council. So we had started to have this discussion recording another way, and then we got technical difficulties, so we had to stop. So we really didn't get into it too much. I basically said that I love this show, and I smiled when I did the intro the first time, just saying the name of the show. And even though I love the show, I will never watch this episode again. I will watch Rhaenys doing what she does. Two queens doing queen shit. I'll watch that scene over and over and over again until the day I die. But this episode was a lot. That I'll probably never watch this again. Even taking notes tonight was rough for some of these scenes. And then I handed it over to you to give your overall thoughts on this week's episode.
Right. So I have, I mentioned I have tons of notes on everything, and but I agree. The 9th episode, just as some background, is typically where we have the massive bloodshed, the deaths of consequential characters. Mm-hmm. And so I think they were, subverting expectations by making that at the end of episode 8, and then we deal with the consequences here, and then they're actually going to start the dance next episode. Mm-hmm. But, so that was interesting that we were confined to the Green Council. Mm-hmm. But I will start by saying that in the books, the coup takes more than a week, and the stink of Viserys rotting starts filling Maegor's Holdfast, which is the square castle part in the middle of King's Landing.
Yeah.
And to where, obviously symbolic, hitting you in the face, where this is a fell deed and the monarchy is rotting at the heart of the city. But it takes that long to get everyone contained, replace all the players with their allies, move the money out of, because they physically have to move the money. You're not transferring electronic money,
Right.
This show has this happening in one long, sleepless 36-hour period. Yeah. And in the books, Alicent is at the helm of the machinations and has complete agency. She's calling Rhaenyra a whore, saying she hopes she dies in battle before they have to tell her, or in childbirth, before they tell her what has happened. If they don't ask her to concede, they demand that she concedes. Nobody even...
What's so bizarre? Why did they change? Like, it's so bizarre to me that... Well, I don't know. I was trying not to go on, like, a rant about it, but...
Yeah.
I
don't know. There's going to be some rants.
I don't understand why they're doing this with her character.
Right.
Like, but it's crazy to me that Rhaenys, almost forgot her name. I love that she at least said it to her face. When Alicent tries that whole, we can guide them gently.
Vomit.
Bullshit. Yeah. Oh my God. So I don't know. I'm satisfied to know at least that Alicent was like committed to being the worst.
She was horrible from the start. Nobody even sees to Viserys' body until they're done. So he's, how bodies are after 10 days.
It's so funny you say that, because I jokingly said when we were watching it, is Viserys on ice? Because I realized that they were doing all this running around, and I was like, we haven't seen anything with his body, or jokingly. Right. And then later we see that they finally got to it. I did like the touch of her standing in the window, though, kind of holding her nose and incense burning, because, ugh.
Exactly.
Anyway.
Yeah. So I am, personally, I'm not hung up on how the books did it, but I'm uncertain how well these tweaks work for me, because it feels like it developed some lossiness in the compression, if you will. Olivia Cook's acting, of course, top notch. Dramatic moments were very exhilarating. But if you look too hard at the storytelling, it falls apart. And a lot of the casual viewers were very confused as to, like, which twin is which, and why is it important to get to Aegon first, and what is this house that's burning? And I'm still not sure that they made all those, made the stakes of the race or the game clear,
They didn't, and again, like, and I don't know if I'm a casual viewer, but I usually say this earlier in the podcast, but if for whatever reason this is your first time listening, I've not read the book. Sarah has. And I think I said in the group, I was like, I'm confused as to why it matters who gets to him first, because what I thought had happened that I might have missed was that Alicent had changed her mind. And I was like, wow, they are really trying to soften her. Like, they are really like, what is, and so that's why at one point I said, I wondered, because the thing that I think maybe we're both going to kind of maybe rant about, I really thought they were going to have Cole and her son, Aemon, betray her. Like, find him first or something. And I was like, because I'm like, again, every time you think the women in the show, particularly Alicent, has the upper hand, has some sort of agency, it's like, nope, she's still being manipulated.
Right.
While not listening to, like, the one other woman who's trying to tell her things. Cryptically, but still, she's trying to tell her.
Right.
And bitch, there's a beast beneath the board.
Yes. She's trying to say, she's been saying for weeks, and it feels like, everybody is sick of her repeating that. But, and of course, in the book, Rhaenys is not there. So she's not there at all, much less does this happen. Yeah.
Okay, wait a second, because when, we might be a little bit all over the place, guys. It is what it is. It's this show. It's amazing. Yeah. Because when Eric came and got her, looking so casual, Sir Eric came and got her, I was like, I'm worried, right? And then I said it like, I can't remember, I think it was Karima in our chat. She was like, I'm worried about Rhaenys. Like, we almost said the same thing, like, word for word. I was a little nervous because I was thinking, this is the 9th episode, something big might happen, like somebody might die, Right. Man, when they corralled them into the dragon pit, I was like, I'm a lot less worried for her now.
Right. Because she's literally just down the hall now.
Right. And I said that in the chat. And I tagged Karima. I was like, I'm a little less worried now that she's in the dragon pit. But I was thinking, at best, she was just going to get away. Because that's all I cared about. I was like, you got to get away from these vultures, right? So in this moment, though, I remember thinking, when she came bursting through, I remember thinking, I'm so glad I didn't read the books. I'm so glad I didn't read the book. Because this is the kind of, like,
it was a surprise for everyone. Yeah.
That's amazing. That is so, I didn't know that. I thought you guys were, like, expecting, I thought you guys were, like, laughing behind our backs, like, beast beneath the boards.
No, we all thought that it meant something else, and that's why I said there could be multiple meanings. And I don't think that other meaning will come to pass until probably the premiere of next season.
That's what I remember.
So
you said
this
that.
was a huge shock.
Oh my God, that's amazing. I love that for y'all too.
Yes. Well, and yet logically, I don't know if it works, because like this period of time was known as what do they call it? The War of Ravens and Envoys and Marriage Pacts. So even for the next few weeks, that's what's supposed to in the showtime. That's supposed to be what's happening. But they're far more aggressive in how they go about things. So they hang Caswell in the hallway for everybody to see, and that's an open act of war against the houses, against the lords. If you hear of this happening or you see that happening, the fact that they've killed a high lord of a house is pretty huge. I mean, Caswell isn't a big house, but they're always, we'll get into this, but they're always kind of in the mix. Mm-hmm. So this is a big deal. And then the fact that Rhaenys, I don't know that it even matters that she doesn't kill anybody on the dais, because is this not an act of war? Like, it is kind of.
Like, see, that's like, it's funny. Like, okay, look, because at the end of the day, do I really care? No, because it was fucking amazing. Right. Like,
it was awesome.
Yes.
Like, I was crying.
Yes.
It was so good.
Yes, bitch, come fucking through. So, I don't, like, I get it. And, like, I've seen, like, some funny shit. Like, I think it was Alan Sepinwall who had tweeted, I'm back on Twitter. I'm out of Twitter jail. All I did was wonder when white men are going to go extinct. And they were like, no, ma'am.
But when are they?
I didn't get an answer. Still waiting. But anyway, speaking of white men, Alan Sepinwall was like, I'm now several days removed from seeing the screener. I don't know. Maybe this was just like a humble brag. Like, maybe he just wanted everybody to remind everybody he gets screeners. But of this episode, and he was like, I'm still no closer to understanding why Rhaenys didn't just set that whole dais on fire, right?
Right.
And Ryan, our friend Ryan, like, I feel like there's like White Nathan. There's White Nathan. There's a Titty Man on Twitter, and there's our friend Ryan. Yeah. To differentiate him between from all the other white Ryans out there. But anyway, our friend Ryan, he responded to that. He's like, Rhaenys hasn't read the books. And I was like, that's really funny, and I get it. But also, like... And I didn't watch the after shit, so I don't know
oh my God.
If, like, somebody, like, if they said why she didn't.
She did. They did. And let's save it because,
okay, I was going to say, because I want to,
30-minute rant.
Okay, because I want to talk about, like, how we feel about it before I know what they were thinking. Because I am wondering what they were thinking. But anyway, so I get what Ryan was saying, and, please don't think like I'm picking on Ryan, because like I said, I retweeted it, I laughed, I thought it was funny, but there are people who feel that way, where it's just like, well, it's just what happens, like, it's just what happens. But it's like, but you still, if you're, especially knowing that this doesn't happen in the book, if you're going to insert it, then it, and that, like, it changes stuff. Like, I've not read the book, but I do have a friend that sends me, like, stuff about, like, past stuff. And, like, when stuff has, like, happened. And I think noting the difference between, like, changing it where it's, like, it's kind of ambiguous that people don't know what went down between Criston and Rhaenyra, right? So it's now the show saying this is what went down, right? Like, you're cementing that this is now... So it's not even, it's different than, like, even changing something from the book, if that makes sense, right? Like, right? Like, you're taking all this, like, innuendo and all this stuff, and you're saying, we're going to set the record straight, and it's like, wow, okay, but then, like, y'all got to make a good reason for why this woman who knows, like, and the fact that, like, I'm sorry, I did not mean to rant about this, but, like, the fact that she used the word usurp, like, she knows what it is. Like, she would be justified. She knew that she's like, I'm going to put down the coochie coochie coo before it kicks off. Like, she would be the hero. Yeah. They might make her queen.
Now's your chance.
After they have to forgive
down and go sit on the throne. Yeah.
After they forgive her for trampling like 200 citizens.
Well, whatever.
Patriotism. Well, no, I guess that's not how it is in monarchies, is it?
Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe. Anyway, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to go on that rant. Go ahead. Continue.
No, yes, yes, so that's fine. But, like, yes, I feel like their storytelling depended on a lot of people filling in the blanks and explaining for other people, and we're certainly prepared to do that, and that's why we're here, but they shouldn't need that to happen, you know? And I also, speaking of information that they have inserted, I absolutely hate that they gave Laris a foot fetish.
Like,
and
what?
That was completely uncalled for, especially after they told us they didn't have time, quote, quote, for all of Rhaenyra's positive relationships that we really wanted to see, that were actually written about in the book. Now we have to see this dude being a sexual predator. Why? I am not. It felt very D&D-ish, and I don't like to see that.
And it just, especially because of what it does for, again, Alicent.
Yes, Alicent. Yeah.
Like, if you
is
want
it not
to,
enough that she's completely lost all of her agency here?
Right. It's like, I don't know, maybe that's the point, but yay, another show about how men have everything and they suck. I mean,
right. Yay.
We don't have enough
of that. We don't know anything about the patriarchy.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
Because we're not living in it.
And that's the thing, like, I don't want to hear the whole, like, well, you know, it's how it would have been back then. Like,
right. That's not how it was in the material for this woman in particular. So, why?
Like, they could have just left her out of it. If you want to give him a foot fetish, like, leave her out of it.
Or make her into it.
Yeah.
Why does she have to be a victim of it?
Yeah. Well, and that's, like, it's weird because the director, what's her name again? I'm about to mix her up with the director of She-Hulk, I bet. Not Cairo, right? That's She-Hulk's director. Damn it. But a woman did direct this episode. Let me pull up her name.
Oh, yes.
And so it's just kind of like, I feel like you can feel that. You know, we talked about, like, the difference in choices between some of the episodes between, like, this and, like, some choices that Miguel Sapochnik made.
Yes.
But it's weird that, like, you have her. Bonnie, what the hell are you over there opening so loudly? But it's just...
It was Claire Kilner, by the way.
Thank you. Why does that name sound very familiar beyond this?
I don't know. She's been directing other episodes. She directed some of the more successful episodes. But
okay,
for some reason, this just didn't work this time.
Maybe it's something else. Maybe I'm confusing her with, I think, an actress. I think that might be it. I think you're gonna laugh. I think I was confusing her with this actress that was on Buffy.
Oh, yeah.
What was her name? What's wrong with me? The edible must be kicking in. But anyway, it just felt like, I don't know, when you have... Oh, God, get away from me. Donnie just showed me a meme. It's a picture of Alicent and Otto. And under him, it says the hand, and under her, it says the feet.
No.
Like, see, like, why?
I'm so exhausted with that.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's like, why? Like, oh,
Right.
she's like the butt of these jokes now for, like,
Right.
no fucking reason. Like, oh.
Yes, this whole episode is about treason, not about foot fetishes.
Right. So what I was trying to say was that, and I keep getting interrupting myself, is that it just, I don't know, you have, like, these really great touches that Claire Kilner has put on her episodes throughout the season, and these really great music choices that Ryan and I, our friend Ryan, and I noted in the thread while we were watching it, that built up this, like, just like the Light of the Seven, and in the episode in which she blows up the Sept in Game of Thrones, like, the music, like it just made you more anxious. You know, it just, you felt like you were building to something.
Yes.
In a quiet way, but still building to something. and nothing good, you know? So you have all of this great stuff, and then you have this. You have foot fetish. It's like, whoa.
Right.
You know, the balance of, like, men and women.
Right. And you have to give something, you know, for the kiddies to meme endlessly.
It's so, like, and it's also, like, what? Is it because he has the disability with his foot that...
Right, which is gross.
Like, why are they doing... Like, is that what they're saying? Like,
yes.
Jesus
why
Christ.
Why did... To give the only disabled person on the show a fetish that does not exist in the books. He does have, like, some kind of issue that with his foot, like he wants to be essentially separated from it, but it's like, but he doesn't have this going on. And then to make him like such a mustache twirler, which I know a lot of people like, but I don't like,
I just don't.
Can we not have like a subtle spy master? Everybody, you know, I think they made Varys, you know, was supposed to be the subtle spy master, and Littlefinger was supposed to be subtle. And I think with Varys, they made him so subtle that then they just blunted him away, and he, you know, ended up being no good at all.
Right.
And
then he showed up and started contradicting himself. Anyway, I'm sorry. I'm still bitter. Right. I'm still fucking bitter. Anyway,
never be over that. And, you know, and then Littlefinger, they had to amp him up because they couldn't just let him be a subtle, you know. And then so this guy, they just start out like he's practically a cartoon character, and then you give him a fetish based on his disability, which is just weird and
unnecessary. Just unnecessary.
Why?
But did love the episode. Again, I will never watch this again because it's just heartbreaking. It's so heartbreaking because it's just unnecessary. It's so fucking unnecessary. And it's just, you know, we've talked about this before, but it is just, you know, trauma upon trauma being passed on and passed down. And they're all going to lose and have lost so much that it's just, ugh.
And they just can't even begin to imagine how much more they will lose.
Right. That's one of the things, like, again, we'll talk about when we talk about Rhaenys. Like, I was like, what was she thinking? Like, and part of me was like, well, you know, she just lost both of her children. Well, not just, but, you know, she lost them within weeks of each other.
Yeah.
Possibly her husband. Like, we talked about this with the scene with her witnessing them working on Damon's body, that she's lost so much. So I could understand maybe that. But, and sure, she had this scene with, I feel like they were trying to play up, I won't say too much, her and Alicent, some sort of like motherly connect. I don't know. But at the end of the day, I don't think that she would want everything that's to come. I think she would be like, I should have roasted you motherfuckers.
Yeah.
And I just hate that for her. I just hate that for the cat. I just hate it for everything. But anyway. Agree. So yeah, but despite all of that, you guys, I did love the episode. I'm really sad that next week is the finale.
Yeah.
It went so fast. Do we know if it is like extended by any chance? Like, is it more than an hour?
Good question.
Because I want a lot. I don't want it to end. Right. You know, I would love it if they were like, yeah, this is an extended episode, even if it's just like a few minutes.
Yeah, IMDb has it 1 hour 3 minutes, so you get 6 more minutes than we have this episode.
And you know what's interesting? Like, you know, I know they announced the season 2 pickup a few days after the premiere of this, but I'm real curious to see how they end this. And I guess you, as someone having read the book, for you, I guess is like more like where they end this.
Yeah, I feel like from the beginning of this season, I've known where they would end it, and they've pretty much confirmed it. Yeah.
Okay, so, all right, I'm going to give you an opportunity You don't have to do it now, but definitely before the podcast is over. So we can start talking about the episode and your opportunity to think about it. Challenge, okay?
Mm-hmm.
An opportunity to appease your fellow book readers by saying, this is what I think. So then next week you can be like, motherfuckers, I told you. So you're giving them a little something. But also, give people like me anxiety.
Yeah.
So you can, so the challenge is, cryptically, 2 words, like where you think they're going to end it, like what's going to happen. Just 2 words. Again.
Oh man.
So
yeah.
you don't have to do it now, but definitely before the end of the podcast. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So you ready to talk about this episode?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So this opening, again, the music, very, I don't know Donnie, I'm going to come chop you in the show. I'm just kidding. I don't know the name of the song yet. 2 things I guess I should address. One, our friend Ryan pointed out, I was rewatching one of the earlier episodes, I think it was episode 3, where Rhaenyra is after she kills the boar, and she's walking through camp covered in blood. That scene, that music, is the same music that's playing that I was talking about last week when Daemon and Rhaenyra arrived at King's Landing. And I was saying how beautiful it was. It turns out that's Rhaenyra's theme. And I think Rhaenyra linked it. It was the version I heard. I think it's called the epic version on Spotify. So there's that. And the other thing I think I should address is the fact that apparently, first me, and then somebody else is like, no, Sarah does it too, have been referring to Matt Smith as Matt Damon.
It just slips out.
I was like, what? I was mortified. Jill was the first person who told me on Facebook. And I was mortified. Because usually I do shit like that on purpose because I'm an asshole. But I really wasn't.
Right.
And I don't even like Matt Damon. That's why I'm super mortified.
Imagine we're saying Matt Damon and add the E in there so that it's Damon.
Yes.
And that's what we mean.
And that's what we mean. We're never wrong.
Yeah. But we meant to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. But anyway, so this music, again, reminded me so much of The Light of the Seven, and the way this episode begins also reminded me of that. I swear, I could write a 400-page article on the parallels between this and Game of Thrones. And in some ways how the show has done some stuff a lot better. But anyway, but again, that early morning routine, and if you remember with that episode, why is the name of it escaping me? That's not Mother, is it? Anyway, Cersei, we see Cersei getting ready, we see Tommen getting ready, and it's just this early morning kind of quiet.
Yes.
It also, it's going to sound so crazy, but it reminds me of footage that you see of 9/11. And by all accounts, it was such a really lovely day, and it was just early morning business, people going about their morning business, and you just know. And in this case, we already know the bad thing has happened.
Right.
Because of the way the prior episode ended, but we know that worse is coming.
Yes.
And we see it through this little blonde boy who's walking through the castle, and we see he informs Talia. She tells the queen, who tells Otto, who tells the queen to tell no one. But Talia has already told the White Worm with some candles in the window. I love it. It was like when they have a new pope.
Right. Yes, shout out to Missaria and Talia for having these plans in place. It's almost reminiscent of of when Brienne told Sansa to
Yes.
light a candle
Yes.
in the tower if
Yep.
she needed help.
I just love that she was like, tell no one. And I mean, like, technically she didn't. Like, she
Right.
just...
I didn't use words.
Right. And the queen tells Otto that Viserys changed his mind. He was like, bitch.
Right.
The way he looked at her.
Yeah, you can almost see the smoke rising from his head. Like,
Yes.
does she really believe this? Or is this a story she's telling herself? Is this just fortunate? Like, what is
What are
happening?
we doing here?
Yeah.
And I'm glad you said it because it kind of reminds me, or we're reminded later in the episode, that they have kind of been at odds. Like,
Right.
they have wanted the same thing, but they've never been on the same page, basically.
Right.
Yeah. So it's interesting here that it's like, I guess, telling of what's, what comes up later is that she didn't know that this was going to happen,
Yeah.
which, again, I was like, wow, okay, I guess.
Right.
So anyway, what did you think of this opening?
It was really gorgeous. The like you said, the music and the wind blowing through the castle, and it's empty up top and smoky, but underneath it's busy already, and it was just very meditative and kind of gave us a moment to feel the loss of our friend Viserys.
And you get you're reminded that it is a big deal.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, kind of not, I guess it's exactly like Queen Elizabeth recently passing away.
Right.
And there are people who genuinely don't give a fuck. Don't give a fuck about
Right.
monarchy, they just don't give a fuck. And I'm one of them. Of
course.
But then, there are people who really care about that. And it's like when you witness, the procession and the kind of pomp and circumstance of it all, you can't deny the kind of weight, even though it's a ridiculous weight of it, like what a big deal it is,
Right.
how, at least to some people, and so,
Sure.
when you have people standing outside Buckingham Palace with like flowers and crying like it meant something to those people. And I thought it was interesting later that I feel like the people had a more genuine response to Viserys' passing than they did to Aegon's ascension.
Right.
They were kind of like,
well,
"Aw," and then they were kind of like, "Aw, really?"
right.
I guess.
Yeah, I mean, many of those people, Viserys has been king their whole lives, or a significant portion of their lives. He was king for almost 30 years.
Queen Elizabeth was queen for my whole life.
Right.
Yeah.
And, at least with Queen Elizabeth, the impact of that is kind of blunted because people have differing opinions about the monarchy. And, of course, her power is so much different because they've got parliament and all that kind of stuff. But for an absolute monarchy, especially in the medieval times, this really does rock the entire country.
Fucking Otto. Anyway, I'm sorry.
Yes.
So the Green Council meets. They were like, we've been ready, so we didn't have to get ready.
I love how they start it from the perspective of the ball.
Yeah. I know.
Really interesting.
Yes. And it's the Lannister, Tylan, right? Tylan?
Oh my god. Yes, Thailand.
Yes. Okay, and because Jason's the one that's back home. Okay. He's like, what happened? Was Dorne invaded? I was like, just like a white man. He's like, were the brown people fighting?
Hopeful thinking. Yeah.
What asshole. But yeah, Alicent didn't know. She was like,
Right.
wait a minute. Are you telling me
Long laid plans. What?
to put my son? And it's like, again, it wasn't even that they were trying to do it. Is that they were trying to do it without her.
Right. That's
Like-
what got her. Yeah.
Yeah. Because, anyway.
And then, yes, at the same time, though, it's not that he hasn't mentioned this to her, and that she hasn't. And this is part of my problem with the whole thing is that he's been warning her that this would be necessary,
Yes.
and she signed on to that until last night.
What's interesting
So-
is that she's like clutching her pearls about, what do
Right.
you mean we have to kill them? And it's like, he's been telling you since episode whatever, since you were the other actress, that Rhaenyra will kill your kids. What the fuck do you think you're supposed to do to her kids? If the whole, right? Like, if the whole point is that
Right.
your children shouldn't exist, so Rhaenyra has to do it, what do you think we're supposed to do to her and her kids?
Exactly.
So for her to be sitting there
Exactly.
like, what do you mean we have to murder them? I was like, bitch, okay.
Yes, her whole thought process about how even when she, quote, wins the contest and wants to send honorable terms to Rhaenyra, what terms do you think that the crown princess will accept that will keep her and her bastards and Daemon and her 2 true-born sons contained to Dragonstone with their dragons? That's definitely
And that's-
not going to happen.
And just while I'm thinking of it again, we won't dive into it, but that's, again, it's like that. It feels like, excuse me, they've set Rhaenys up as a character who knows that.
Right.
And it's like, why? Yeah, why wouldn't she roast them? But okay. Beastberry is
it
like,
makes
I'm
makes
sorry.
Alicent unserious. The
Yes.
fact that she's been consumed with anxiety about this eventuality and what Rhaenyra will do to her children, even though she knows that Rhaenyra herself would never do this to her children. And then we come to it, and she can't conceive of the moves that would be necessary to carry this coup out. It just, you're like, what were you thinking about for the last 20 years?
I wonder what Damon's reaction is going to be, because it feels like he has to be, like, I don't know. I'm curious to see what both of their reactions are going to be. Like, how shocked are they going to be that this happened? Because it feels like, as it stands now, from what I've seen of these characters, I would buy Rhaenyra being like, wait, what? They did what? Like, maybe, like, after the dinner and all that. But Daemon, I feel like his whole life he's been waiting for this to happen. Like, I feel like
Right.
he's peeped Otto's shit. And so I'm just real curious the reaction to, well, one, they're going to have to deal with, their grief over Viserys. And then this. Oh my God, it's going to be a mess.
Yeah.
So Beastberry is like, y'all got me fucked up. Oh my God. He was like, I am old as shit. I have known Viserys longer than most of you motherfuckers been alive.
Yeah. He worked for Jaehaerys. He's been around forever.
He was like, I was in the prologue before episode 1. He was like, and what you not gonna do is tell me that this man turned on his daughter to her for her son, and nobody else heard it. No.
Yeah.
And the base was like, dude. It's like, bruh, sit down.
Settle down. Yeah.
He was like, hold your tongue or some shit.
Well, and what's funny is in the book, Orwyle, who's the maester, gives himself credit for making these comments, but he's the one that transcribed the meeting. And so it kind of becomes obvious by the end of the selection in the book that he's covering up his complicity in the coup.
Yeah. By saying that it was Beesbury who's like, I think not. So then I don't listen. Oh God. Okay. Here's where I got to confess something. I did today. I had to look up how Criston dies. Guys.
How who dies?
Criston. Yes.
Oh. Ugh. It won't be for a while.
Oh, I know. I was like, Jesus fucking Christ, they're going to do this like season 4, aren't they? Like, I cannot explain to you. I think I can. I think, like, I don't even think I had this kind of, like, reaction to, like, Joffrey or maybe even Ramsay. That's not to say men like that don't really exist, because they absolutely do. But I feel like Criston embodies, like, a special brand of man.
Yeah. That we all know.
Right. That feels like they are just on ridiculous display lately. Like, do you get what I mean? Like, it just feels like there's a certain level of, like, entitlement. Like, if...
Yeah.
This episode, I think there were so many instances where I was like, absolutely, I can see where they told Olivia Cook to play her like a Trump voter. Like, because... Yeah. And I can feel like... he feels like the male counterpart to that, if that makes sense.
Yes.
He's so... And so I
completely agree.
I cannot stand this character. So I just had to know. I was like, Jesus fucking Christ, please make it, like, really painful. Like... I wanted him to get eaten by a dragon and then shat out and then, like, stepped on by another dragon. And it's not that, spoiler.
Right. Sorry to say.
George R. R. Martin, you hack, you coward. But anyway, I had to look, and it's not for a while. It's just like, whatever. Spoiler, everybody dies, so don't get on my case, okay?
Right.
So yeah, Beesbury is like, because they were like so bold. We have to say this. You had mentioned something. The fact that in the book, this wasn't something that was like done behind her back or whatever, and how it took weeks because they had to like move the money and all that. Well, we find out here that they've kind of been like, they've been prepping.
Right.
Like, like in the, like a Ocean's 11 type movie, like a heist movie,
yes,
where they have like dry runs and they're casing the joint. Like, they have been practicing their treason for like a decade or more.
They have a go plan. They cut out the Master of Coin, who's Beesbury, and gave his job to the Master of Ships, friggin' Thailand. I think we all get obsessed with Lannister gold and forget that Tywin Lannister has nothing to do with the money.
Yeah.
It's Beesbury's job. But they knew he was a loyalist.
Yeah.
And Otto is completely obsessed with how to contain Daemon. His first concern is removing people who are loyal to Daemon.
Yes, he was like, there are two. Oh my God, when is Otto done?
Right.
I'm not going to spoil myself. I'm done. Again, it's just Criston. It's just like a special brand.
Don't look anybody up, because you'll just be disappointed about the Greens.
I know. They're going to thrive. I know they are. Fucking, just like Republicans. I hate them.
Right.
Jesus Christ. Anyway, so what were we going to say? What was I going to say? Oh, so yeah, Criston, when he stands behind this man, it's like he's like an attack dog. He's like a fucking, but he doesn't really have a leash. And these yahoos are just, he's like, you know what? Again, I'm sorry with this comparison, but like, he's like the Sarah Palin. He's like the less polished.
Not bright.
You know? They're like, I wish this motherfucker would stop murdering people in front of us, but otherwise, love him
He's
because
kind of useful. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
ugh.
You're right. Like, nothing they do is enough to contain his behavior, so he continues to get worse. And he's not really been reprimanded for killing people in cold blood and being violent to Prince Laenor, and all kinds of things like that.
Yeah.
And so he just continues to grow in his seething and his entitlement. And he just hulks out. He's got no control
He's such
at
a
all.
fucking frat boy. I hate him so much.
Yeah. I mean, it's exactly like somebody that you think is a good old boy living next to you, and then you find out he was, sitting at Nancy Pelosi's desk with an AR-15.
Yes, exactly. Oh my god. So yeah, he kills Beesbury like right in front of everyone. It's just
Wild.
And then when Westerling, who like he pulls out his sword on him and fucking silence Scoots like the fucking coward he is.
Not that I could blame him.
Like they were like, oh, put your swords away. And like, I was like, no, he gave him a direct order. He told him to put his sword down and take that fucking he fired him. And then the queen was like, no, it's all right. And I'm like, ugh, you people deserve everything that happens. I hate you. So.
Yes, that killed me. That they did not back up Westerling's authority. And she was just like, oh no, he didn't insult me. It's fine. He's fine. Criston, just put your sword down. It's fine. But
and I love where later he's like, I report to the king, and there's no king right now. So,
right. And Otto yells at Harold. Doesn't say a word to Criston. It was very like, and she just puts her hand to her head and is like, oh my god, like here he goes again. There's like nothing he can do that changes her demeanor toward him in any way. She never reframes her understanding of who he is. It's very like, big ACAB energy, like, oh, all cops are heroes, and even if they're shooting this guy in the street, I still am gonna like bring them a water.
It feels like honestly, it feels like they wish she would just rather he not do those things in front of her.
Right. She's just like, oh, this is so exhausting. Go again, killing dudes.
Yeah, can you stop killing people at weddings?
I hate it when he gets like this. Yeah.
And coup meetings, please. With all these fucking witnesses. Jesus Christ. So then that motherfucker, I forgot his name. Wait, it's something absolutely... I want to say it's like Darkling, but I don't think it is. However, that's what I'm going to call him for the rest of the season, for the rest of the series.
The Darkling. Word that, oh my God! Please don't, because that is the name of the Shadow and Bone character.
Yes, that is. Okay, God damn it.
That I'm in love with, but it's Wild is his last name.
Literally. Why did I think it was Dark something?
Because he says. She says, have you been planning to install Aegon without me? And he said, there's no need to sully you with Darkling schemes.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to call him Darkwing Duck. Just
okay.
That's
sure, why not?
That's his name now. So this motherfucker, I like when she brings up the point, she was like, he would not want his daughter murdered. He loved her, and you will not deny that. And she was like, he goes, and yet... And she was like, if you say another fucking word, I'm going to have you sent to the wall. And it's weird because, like, I kind of feel like he deferred to Otto.
Yeah.
Otto looked at him like, just let it go.
Just settle down. Yeah. And that's the crazy thing about this whole thing is that they are... Okay, not only has she lost her agency in this reframing of the events for the show, but they have these machinations going on for some reason. Even though they have discounted her as a player, they feel shame about it and they won't look her in the face.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, they don't want to hear anything she says. It's like, make up your minds.
And even in that moment, like, notice, like, after she says that, and, like, Otto looks at him like, let it go. Like it's Tylan who steps in and is like, so, what would you suggest? Like, to try to, like, smooth. And I just hate the idea that they are, like, handling her.
Yeah. Right, they all are.
Especially because she wants this.
Right. Even Orwyle is handling her.
Mm-hmm. So, wait a minute. You know what's interesting to me? Or, honestly, it doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. Why would Otto think Westerling would be down with this? Because he's like, y'all got me fucked up too.
Question. Because don't
like,
forget,
when we first met him,
right,
he was like, my job is making sure this princess is safe. Right? When she came back on her dragon.
He was Rhaenyra's personal sword.
Yes. So why
until he was elevated to the Lord Commander?
And that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm thinking, like, why he's even in the room. Why is he in the room? Who is he? Because when you tell me, well, I report to the king, I guess, I mean, I get that you got to tell him that the king is dead, but y'all are about to contain people. Like, I feel like they could have did this without him, but I get why they did. And again, this is the whole Sir Barristan Selmy moment all over again.
Yeah.
I really do think I'm going to do a rewatch and do, like, I'm going to list the comparison scenes and things. But anyway.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, it doesn't make sense to me that they would include him on this part of it. It feels like this is something where they would have just told him to do it. Like, they would have decided, and then Otto would have left the room and told him to do it. But, yeah. Well, but this is more dramatic, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, they need to have a dissenter that they're not going to contain. But in the books, Westerling has already been dead for 10 years, and Criston is already the Lord Commander.
And I remember you were saying that this is that they may be doing something with him that they that another character does in the book because of who the actor is, Gavin McTavish, I think.
Yeah. And they need to have somebody who's such a big deal that they can't put him down, but they're also not going to give him any authority. It is wild, though. I think, well, let's just say that Otto is no Tywin, and we've seen that time and time again. Otto is a miscalculator, a serial miscalculator. He does calculate correctly sometimes, but he thinks in his mind here, well, this man answers to the king, I'm the hand, and he's gotten drunk on speaking with the authority of the king, not realizing that because they don't have a king, that his word is no longer good technically.
Right.
And that's the loophole that Westerling is able to exploit here. And he just didn't account for that because he's not that good of a schemer.
And I also feel like they just couldn't take him.
Yeah.
Like, I'm looking at the muscle in the room and, like, who would legit try to get involved.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know that he would have, like, unless the queen said to do something, I don't know that Criston wanted that smoke. So it's like, I just don't think there's any. He's like, who's going to check me, boo? Apparently nobody.
Yeah, nobody can check him.
Nobody's walked the fuck out.
It might be close with Criston because he doesn't fight honorably.
It's true.
But we have to think of Barristan Selmy again. You know, he was able to really hold his own for a few more years after that.
Yeah, he was, yes. Even though he got that bullshit kind of ending.
Right.
Anyway, I'm still bitter. My girl, Helena's in there spitting. She's like, she's talking to her, like, new handmaiden, who I just hope doesn't get assaulted, or her nanny, and she's like, people want what other people have. That's just the way we are. And I'm like, this poor girl got to watch these two fucking inbred children. and listen to this woman dropping random bullshit about beasts under boards and like everybody wants what everybody else got. And she has to like sound like she has to agree it's the most profound thing she's ever heard.
I know. I had the same feeling. Like, what must it be like to sit there and have Helena with her head in the clouds doing her, Luna Lovegooding left and right and be like, okay, yes. And then she like nods at her like, yes, thank you for accepting this. Like, no one else is listening to me, but you listen to me, Nanny.
She's telling her the book. She's already told her how Criston Cole dies.
Annie knows what's going on, and no one else does.
Exactly. She has all the spoilers because of freaking this girl. Oh, my God. So when her mom, the queen, comes in to tell her that... well, no, they're looking for Aegon. Sorry.
Yeah.
It's Otto and the queen, and he's not in his rooms. Of course not. And it's just like a race at this point. Otto rushes out, and after the nanny leaves, Alicent is, I'm supposing, about to tell Helena. Helena? Why can't I never get her?
Helena, yeah.
Helena. About Viserys. She's like very like aggressively reminds her about this fucking beast. She's like, I'm sick of these motherfucking beasts under my motherfucking boards. She's over it. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, how long has she been talking about this? You motherfuckers are not like, and that begs the question: Will Alicent get it now?
I'd love to know. I wish someone would listen to this girl.
I really want Helena to be like, see?
Right.
Because this is the only thing that we've seen her say to someone else that is like acknowledged and repeated.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying? Like the other stuff was like for us.
It was under her breath and nobody heard her.
Yeah. So it's interesting that they had it be, Alicent. It was twice, and it was so like insistent, and then it be the day that it happens, like or the next day, whatever. Yeah, for her to be like, you're not listening to me about it. I don't know. I wonder if that's something that'll stick with Alicent.
That would be nice to see. I do love when they come in and they're looking for Aegon, and this is just one of it. This is not really a significant quote from the book, but I love when Helena says, that she's like genuinely confused by this. She says in the book, "He's not in my bed, you may be sure. Feel free to search beneath the blankets." Like, they just don't understand. The man is never in his rooms with Helena. He's always out, and I thought it was really interesting. They're doing a lot of interesting things with her making eye contact. When Otto comes in, she looks down, she looks away. When she sees that her mother is trying to tell her something important, she looks down, but she looks her in the face when she grabs her and says, the beast is beneath the boards.
Yes.
And then Aemond comes in to see about her. And I don't know if they're saying that he was coming in because he knew his mother was in there, but in my mind, I'm writing that he was coming in to check on Helena because...
Oh my God, you people in this fan fiction.
Listen, if somebody doesn't send me some good Aemond and Helena...
Is there not enough incest in this show?
I want the good incest.
you're like, I want the ones that I ship.
But he has a duty to her.
He does?
I mean, he says earlier, like long ago, he was like, I would do my duty to the family.
Right, yeah.
I would take care of her. And I know he's constantly, as we hear later, he is keeping score about Aegon and all the things that he's letting slide and all the things he's doing right. And he's also looking after their sister wife for Aegon,
Yeah. Okay.
So.
All right. So Otto sends Eric, who, after Aegon, because nobody knows where he is, but Eric suspects that he's out in them streets, and he's like, okay, good, take your brother, take off your cloaks, don't let nobody know who you are, find him, bring him to me, and only to me, don't let nobody know what you're doing, including the queen.
Right.
Yeah, and at this point, I was just like, why?
Right.
And at this point, I also wondered, was he talking to the right twin? I was like, what's about to happen? Like, my stomach was in knots, I should tell you, because of the music. And again, there's like, now it's like, wait, why? Why are we going behind the queen's back? What's the big deal? The castle then goes on lockdown. They put all the servants literally in prison. And they lock Rhaenys in her room.
Yes. They're ushering all the servants into the holding cells. They're ushering all of the lords and ladies who are at court into the throne room. And, of course, Rhaenys is kept alone, which she did say when she came to King's Landing that she would have to stand alone.
Yeah.
And now she is.
Yep. Alicent then sends Cole after Aegon, and Aemon's like, I'm going to go too. And notice that she gets Cole to do what she wants by playing on everything that he feels for her as queen.
Once again, with the Lancelot vibes, she is really stringing this guy along. And, despite everyone viewing Rhaenyra as a whore, like, she's manipulating this guy, keeping him kind of on a tether as much as you can. And, it's super gross.
Very.
Super gross.
So then we're going to go down to the Pank. Where apparently when Aemon turned 13, Aegon took him down here to get his dick wet. And wouldn't you know it, pure Criston Cole. He's like, clutches his pearls. It's like, every woman is an image of the mother and must be spoken of with reverence. Unless you're that cunt, Rhaenyra.
Right? Did you not call Rhaenyra a cunt last episode?
It's like, unless you're that whore, then no.
Right. And I remember him admitting to a, quote, wild youth? And yet he is so shocked that
He's
two
born
princes would
again.
go to the streets of Silk. Right.
Like,
Born again.
This has to be Alice doing.
Oh, yeah.
Like, and I bet you...
They
like,
probably quote scripture to each other.
Listen, I feel like this is the type of stuff we've missed out on, again, by not doing an episode or two in there. Like, I would like to have seen him feeling some sort of, like, gratitude to her for, saving his life, if you will, right? Like, interrupting him. But also giving him something else to place his, like, tarnished honor on, that whole... But, like, I feel like that's, again, me just kind of, like, assuming that that's what this is, but also some sort of, clearly, attraction to her as a woman. But we'll never know. Because here we are.
Because we're just going to skip all that shit, apparently, because we don't have time for that.
Here we are. He's walking around looking like a Dickensian fucking orphan. He's like...
Please stop the beanies. Game of Thrones, please.
And then we learn Aegon is a freak, apparently. She's like, this is a regular whorehouse. Your brother is at some fucked up places. I can't even tell you.
Right. My mind started reeling like, wow, what is he into?
Right. Like, I absolutely, like, I was made a note to be like, I gotta ask Sarah, like, what's he into in the books? Because, like, they never did get around to it. It made you feel, I mean, they kind of did with the, like, she made it feel like there was, like, he was, like, a sexual deviant.
Right.
And then later we find out he is, one of the things it looks like he's doing is, you know, impregnating these girls that I'm assuming he's raping. I mean, he's the fucking prince, so of course he's, like, you know, exerting power over these women. And when they have his children, he's, like, basically, they're using them in these, like, child fighting pits.
Right.
Which is very much like Game of Thrones with the... Sorry. The fighting pits, remember?
Yes. The fighting pits, and also the fact that Biter, who's one of the three, you know, there's Jaqen Hagar and Rorge and Biter are in the cage when Arya and who are going north.
That's right. Yeah.
They're going north to the wall.
Genji.
Yes. That's when she meets Gendry and all those guys. And so Biter has these filed teeth. So that tells you that whatever deal, you know, obviously, I mean, we could already tell that Masaria's little deal with Otto was not going to go through in any way. Like, he didn't take her seriously at all. That shit is still going on almost 200 years later.
Jesus Christ. Like, that whole thing with her, like, I just, we'll get there. But yeah, so she's like, yeah, he's not here. So then we go to the throne room, and Otto has these lords and ladies who were, who had come, I guess, to witness that claim. Is that the case? Like, why were they all here? Or did he, like...
they're just lords and ladies of houses who had representatives at court.
Okay.
And these were houses, I mean, all the houses had sworn for Rhaenyra. So he just pulls everybody. Yeah, so sometimes the actual lord is at court, but a lot of times it's like a second son or something like that. So they just have somebody that's like a lobbyist.
Got it. So he makes it clear that you cannot leave the throne room until you've declared for either Aegon or Rhaenyra, and two people who refuse are escorted out. And Laris, who, why the fuck is he even here?
Right.
Why is
Otto doesn't even know, you know, that he's got all the spy stuff going on.
Like, so, shouldn't he be down there?
You think?
Declaring, right? Isn't he the head of Harrenhal?
I guess they're confident in his
so he's just allowed to
loyalties.
He's just allowed to, like, spectate and note that Caswell is hesitant to bend the knee.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to say this part now, even though it doesn't happen right now. Caswell is later gripped up, trying to leave, and we see he is hanged in the courtyard area. Rhaenys sees this later. I was like, gosh darn it. I like that old dude. Because I absolutely, like, gasped when he knelt. Yeah. I was like, no. Right. Not homie from that episode.
Right. But then he was kind of like, long live the king.
Yeah. I guess.
He's trying to, you know, get out of there. And, when they mentioned him, when he popped up earlier, you know, that caught my eye because, he's basically the first lord to be killed, because he's Team Black. And,
so what did they do with the two that they escorted out? Did they just put them in prison? They
imprisoned them to hold them hostage against the rest of their house.
Got it. That makes sense.
And interestingly, in the book, and in all the books,
can you give me a tiramisu, please?
No,
sorry, I'm sorry. I thought it was muted.
I want one. House Caswell is small, but they are always in the mix of major conflicts. So Caswell was the Lord Commander of the Night's Watch when Aegon came over to do the Aegon's conquest. And then the head of House Caswell teamed up with House Merryweather, who is the first man here to speak up and say he's going to confer with his house. So at the time, that Lord Merryweather and that Lord Caswell teamed up with Maegor against Aegon the Uncrowned. And the Caswells continue to be a factor during the Blackfyre Rebellion. They join Renly's side in the War of the Five Kings. So they're not a big deal, but they are always kind of in the political mix, and they often are on the wrong side.
Great.
Yeah. This is probably the only time that I would say that they're on, quote, our side. You know? Yeah.
Sorry, my notes app closed on me for a second. Where were we? Oh, so, there is the Baby Fight Club. Ouch. I asked him to give me a tiramisu, and then he sits like the cold cup on the back of my neck. Thank you. There are children fighting, like you mentioned earlier. They have their teeth filed down, and Eric is like, "Do you see?"
Right. Yeah, Eric with an E has been Aegon's personal sword, and he was the one that reported the rape last episode. And then Eric with an A is Alicent's personal person whenever Criston is off duty. So he's kind of been out of the loop as far as Aegon being shit, you know.
But like later, because I feel like the whole episode, Eric is like, "Do you see? Do you see?
Right.
Do you see?" And it just keeps getting worse and worse. And then later, he's like, "But like the wisdom of the hand or something." It's like, what?
Oh, yeah. Like Eric with an A is like an on-paper rule follower. He's like, "But we, swore oaths. And
Nerd.
the hand
He's a nerd.
is supposed to do all the thinking, This reminded me a lot of, like, my brother and I. And I can say this because he doesn't listen to this podcast, but I'm like,
great?
"Do you see how we shouldn't listen to all these people?" And he's like, "But..." I'm like, "Dude, no." It was very relatable.
Yeah, and then apparently, again, these children that he's having, he's letting them be used, and because I'm assuming that's it, right? Does he have like a financial interest in this? Or does
he's
he
like
just
betting
like to,
on them.
Yeah, I was going to say he just likes to go and spectate and bet.
Which is just horrific. Like, the man is spawning his own team of child.
He's like Nick Cannon. Oh my god!
Yes, except Street Fighters. Like, at least those kids seem to have a nice life.
I can't believe I just called Nick Cannon angry.
Jesus.
Oh my god. Okay. So then the White Worm enters the chat. She
Yes, here we go.
one of her little birds or spiders. I don't know. Oh, I should mention that Helena's doing some, what is that? Tapestry? What is that called? I don't know. Embroidering.
She's just embroidering, yeah.
I don't know what that shit's called. And that's a spider, right? Was it a spider?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
No.
Yeah. We got
No,
a few spiders going on. And this is actually, they changed the opening to include the blood thing. They changed it to include the 3 kids and their new icons. So hers is a spider. So that's interesting.
Wait.
Because she's a bug girl. Yeah.
What 3 kids?
The sorry. So they've now included so what they did differently this time is they filled Viserys's icon with blood because he died, and then you go to Alicent's Hightower coin, which is new, I guess, and then it splits off and shows Helena's coin, which is a spider, Aegon's coin, which is a naked lady, and Aemon's coin, which is a blue sapphire. And then Helena and Aegon's bloodlines run together, and they have their twins. And then there are two kind of bonus people that we have not met yet, but are included in the coins. So Alicent has another child that we haven't met yet, and he's off. We can talk about that later if you want. And then and then there's a third coin for Aegon and Helena, and I don't know if that baby has been born yet or if she's pregnant now. And then I also noticed two random coins at the end that I think are supposed to be Rhaenyra and Daemon's children, but they didn't get like a close-up on that. So.
We'll probably get that next week then.
Yeah.
I had something to say about that and I completely lost it.
Spider. Kind of spider.
Yeah, was it like... I thought it was like red and black, which is interesting, right? Because that's Rhaenyra's colors, right?
Right. It did look kind of Black Widowy in shape.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to ask. Like I was going to say, I'm not... I know that the Black Widow has a specific color on its back. I couldn't remember if it was white or red.
Yeah. It seemed like kind of various colors, but like the body shape was kind of that, classic hourglass.
Also,
teardrop.
I was laughing because I was eating my tiramisu and I didn't know that this mute doesn't work. So, like, I was muting it so that I could eat my tiramisu. And now I have to apologize if you guys can hear me eating. I'm so sorry. But, like, now I don't remember what it was.
I didn't notice that.
Oh, okay, good. But you said something, and it made me laugh, and now I don't remember what it was. And I was gonna say, I gotta remember to tell her I actually laughed out loud, but I was muted, and then I remembered, dummy, they can hear you. But I don't remember what you said, and it made me laugh, but you made me laugh. Anyway, yeah, so, then Aemon's off having second son syndrome with
he really is.
Cell. He's like, oh my god, like I should have everything he has. And like, I have the biggest dragon, I have the biggest penis.
That's basically what he was saying.
Yeah, I have a cool scar. Look at my hair. He's like, look at him. He really was like talking his shit. He was. And he was really telling no lies, honestly.
Right. I couldn't argue.
He's like, if we're going to do the coup, right, if we're going to do the treason, why not just give it to me?
Right. He's like, I'm actually being serious about the coup.
Exactly. He's like, so let's say we don't look for him. Why are we looking for this little bitch?
Right. Why don't we just give him time to get out of town?
Mm-hmm. And then Sir Incel is like, I know what it's like to have... I wish I could do a fucking dumb Jersey boy accent, but I can't. I am shit at accents. Like, we need John here for that. I don't know, can you do one and say, I know what it's like to have... fight for what others are freely given, or some other incel-y shit.
Right. And of course, like, he's subtweeting Rhaenyra again.
Yes.
Like, will you fucking stop? Like, the man never stops seething about Rhaenyra.
She was a child. He is obsessed.
And he wasn't much older. And he was put on the Kingsguard by her. So how exactly did you miss out? Because you were never going to be a prince.
So then we get the scene where we see them tending to Viserys. He literally just, I mean, he is a corpse, but I mean, he looks like, something out of a horror film. to the point where, like, after his body is wrapped,
Yeah.
and we see the overhead shot of that, like, it looks so, like, there was not much left to him. You know?
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And Alicent seems properly sad.
Yeah. I mean, I did appreciate that they gave her some emotional moments to deal with this. I would, I don't want her to be the kind of person who never had any feelings for him, whatever they may have been, conflicted though they may have been. I want her to be sorrowful about this. So, whatever.
It's interesting that we had, in the beginning, I noted that I thought it was interesting that they were having her, when she was still played, as a teenager, as a child, having her seem to like him.
Yeah.
Right.
Like as a friend, at least.
Yeah. And so it was interesting, obviously, we missed some stuff in those episodes we never got, but she was definitely harder.
Yeah.
When she came back. But anyway, it was just interesting to see her cry, and it reminded me of how she used to be towards him. Like, she went from husband to Viserys in like one episode. And so I imagined that those tears were for, I thought more of the younger actress, if that makes sense. And I think it helped hurt, maybe? No, I think it helped, because I really liked the scene. That her hair was tied back, kind of like how she wore it often, the younger actress.
That's
Emily.
a great point. Yeah.
So I was very much reminded of that Alicent in that scene. And I was reminded of those moments, and again, wondering, like, they felt genuine, those moments of affection. So that's what I imagined was, like, kind of going through her head in that moment.
Yes.
Yeah.
I also wanted to mention, since it was brought up in the group, in the Facebook group, the historical context for this, for his body being kind of, not that was happening in this version, but the way that it was treated in the book, and then how they did leave it for a little while until they contained everybody. So Alex had mentioned that this was a reference to Henry VIII's son, Edward, dying when he was 15 as king. He was only king for a brief amount of time and got tuberculosis, and of course that wasn't curable. So when he died of the TB, his mother, who was Jane Seymour, her family was so terrified of Mary taking the throne, who was the eldest daughter and was Catholic, and she, they were scared that she was going to start killing everybody. So they hid his body for 4 days, and it was rotting and stinking and everything like that. And in that time, they went through all their candidates and figured out, that they were going to crown this girl, Lady Jane Grey, and and then she ended up being queen for something like 15 days, I think, until Mary actually caught wind of it and came in and killed everybody. So
that's what I'm hoping.
They weren't wrong.
That's what I'm hoping Rhaenyra does, but I'm not holding my breath.
Right. And then Tim had mentioned that the hairpiece that Rhaenyra wore when everybody was swearing fealty to her was very reminiscent of Queen Mary. So that definitely plays out.
I don't know if we mentioned this last week. I don't remember. For a second, I was like, Tim who? I was like, and then it just hit me. Tim D, right?
Yeah.
Okay. It hit me. No, what was I going to say? No, wait, hold on. I lost it. Oh my God, what were we talking? Just the last thing we were talking about. The Viserys. I don't remember if we talked about this before. Oh, there's two things about Viserys, actually. Sorry.
Yeah.
One, last week with the mask, I don't know if the real king that like had leprosy wore a mask. There wasn't like a movie version of someone who really did, and they put him like in a full face mask, something like that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. The other thing is, as you were talking, I thought about this. I would have, if they had, like, I'm just so angry just thinking about it, but after the fucking performance that Patty put in, if they had treated his corpse that way in this episode, I'd have been hot.
God,
do you hear me?
right?
Can you imagine after that beautiful death scene, after him dying in a way where he thought his family were all going to be happy and blah, blah, blah. Like, for them to then come back this week and have that man rotting in that room for weeks.
Right.
I would not stand for it, just saying.
Horrific. I feel like they've definitely made these changes so that there is some room for us to not completely throw Team Green out the window.
Exactly. Alicent goes to see Rhaenys. And she's just on her bullshit. She's like, we do not rule, but we may guide the men who do.
Ugh. That was so triggering for me. Like, I feel like I've been to a women's conference at my former evangelical church, and that's exactly what they said.
Listen, when she said that, I was like, she really took that Trump voter shit to heart.
Woo. Mm-hmm. Gently and away from violence and destruction and toward peace. I felt like Rhaenys in that moment.
And it's like, and it's so crazy because it's like, does she think she's doing that? Like, do you think even if you think you are, like, even if you think that you have been guiding all of Viserys' actions and you're guiding this boy that you are now telling the world should be king, like, do you think it's working? Like, look at Aegon. He's terrible, and you know this.
Right. Yes, and that's I think that's part of the function of this episode is the journey to show us exactly who Aegon is, because we really don't know him.
Mm-hmm. And he's so... Oh my God, we'll get that.
And neither does anyone else.
And then
not even his brother.
No, true. And then she also mentions, I was like, this bitch. She says that Laenor was cuckold.
Right.
I was like, actually, Laenor was out there getting his.
Right.
What are you talking about?
Maybe he was into that. I don't know. But, yeah, the way that they continue to overlook the reality of the scenario to put forth this sanitized version of what happened in Rhaenys' family, whether Rhaenys believes that Rhaenyra had a hand in his death or not, which I feel like at this point she may not. I don't know.
I don't know.
It almost seemed like she was like, well, if that's what you say, okay. But Rhaenys, of all people, understands, the arrangement that they had, more or less.
Right.
So to gloss over that is, and then be like, so we can be in this together, dear cousin.
Yeah, when she threw that dear cousin in there.
Related to Rhaenys.
When she threw that dear cousin in there, I was like, is this like good cousin or good sister? Because it's like by marriage, like in-law, okay. But otherwise, what are you talking about? It's like, I need to check with Sarah on this one because...
Right? Like, I don't think of my husband's cousins as my cousins. That's just too much spreading of ownership in the family.
I bet you if you was trying to get them to agree to your treason,
right?
You'd be like, cousin.
Your cousins. They'd be like, ma'am, I am a lawyer.
I love how she said, you should have been queen. And she goes, I love my husband, but he would have been content to die a country lord, hunting and studying his histories. And I was like, she must not know him because hunting. He was terrible
not
at
that
hunting.
Part. From the tent?
What are you talking about? But I thought that was so cute. She was like hunting and studying his histories. Oh.
She was half right.
Yeah, she was half right. So they're basically going to hold her and her dragon, and she says that. She's like, if Rhaenyra has... Oh, sorry, can you hear me?
I can't... How about now?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Oh, there you go.
Okay.
There you go. Yep.
Okay.
Got it.
And she admits that they're holding her and her dragon because if Rhaenyra, she's more likely to put up a fight the more dragons she has on her side. Basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then Rhaenys tells her you're smart, but you still toil in the service of men.
Right.
Which is true. Which is absolutely 100% true.
Yeah. She says, you desire not to be free, but to make a window in the wall of your prison. And that really brings to light all the imagery we've seen of Alicent since the beginning of the series, which is her constantly in these windows that look like prisons.
Yeah, that's true. That's so true. Like when we first see her, adult Alicent, that's how she's framed.
Right.
Also in the scene that I was just talking about with the Viserys's body.
Yes.
Yeah.
Same
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It happens later in this episode.
Right.
It reminded me too of, I think it was season 2 Westworld finale when Dolores was saying to Bernard basically like that sublime world that Ford had built would just not be like a gilded cage. It's like not real freedom. It's just, a pretty cage that you're in. Yeah.
Right. And that's what operating within the patriarchy makes of all of us.
Yes.
And I also noticed that she offers her driftmark for her and her granddaughters, which is incredibly naive. Another naive move from Alicent, because the council would not allow this. The entire reason that any of this is happening, the whole reason, is because Rhaenyra is a woman. No other reason. Mm-hmm. She's trueborn. She's 100% Targaryen from both sides. Mm-hmm. She's not, it's not. It's for no other reason, and they don't want to encourage the women of the realm to imagine themselves lords. And the only one who's a holdout is Lady Jane Eyre up in the Vale, and they don't mind her because she's stuck up in the Eyrie. They're not going to let Rhaenys take over Driftmark.
They're like, next thing you know, they're going to want to vote and shit.
Right.
Get out the kitchen.
She's going to run the Navy? Like how?
Oh my God. They were like, what happens when she gets her period? Oh my God. So yeah, and then she utters the line that I hadn't realized that we had not heard, but it was in the trailer. Have you never imagined yourself on the Iron Throne? And she tells her, I'll let you change your mind, ring the bell when you do. Cole and Aemon, this is something I think I missed the first time I watched the episode, that they witnessed this meeting between the White Worm and Otto. This is how they knew where. And they just kind of happened upon it, right?
Right. Yeah.
Dumb luck. So basically, Mysaria is going to give up Aegon in exchange for Otto stepping in and stopping the exploitation of the children in Flea Bottom. And she believes him. I guess. I mean, she has to believe him if she gave up her ace card, right? Like if she just was like, but she believes him. He's like, I'll look into it. And I was like, Jesus Christ, like, ugh.
She admits that the crown overlooks these fighting rings.
Mm-hmm. She said either either they're complicit in it or they're just ignoring, like they don't know about it because they're stupid. Yeah.
Who does she imagine has been the crown for the last 6 years?
And it's like if you don't know that with a spy who's the Queen's handmaiden, then I don't know why.
Yeah,
this feels like miscalculation.
Bizarre. Yeah. And then the fact that she doesn't understand that he threatens her when she says, she's trying to flex by saying, the only power you can get is what the people allow you to have. And that is certainly an idea that they've visited several times. And he says, "Oh, I will remember."
Yeah.
That's a naked threat.
Yeah. She just put the bigger target on herself.
Not that I think anything happened to her.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, I feel like that would be, I would just, like, they're already on my shit list with the way they're treating certain women characters on this show. That would just be like, okay, great.
Yeah. I mean, maybe she did understand it and then just packed immediately and left.
Right.
Which is what I would have done. Yeah.
But you know what I think is interesting here is that, like I was saying last week, where she seems to have, like, the interest of the people. Mm-hmm. She's willing to betray Daemon.
Yeah.
Right. By extension hurting Rhaenyra. Or by hurting Rhaenyra, she's betraying Daemon. And she's totally willing to do that if it means stopping, the exploitation of these children. So, again, it feels like if the fire at the end did work, that's just a double shame. It's like
right.
She actually
and maybe
stood
they're
for something.
Introducing an idea of this kind of person because people like this do kind of rise up and then recede or are killed multiple times during the dance and afterwards in the aftermath. So there are kind of rulers of the people that are kind of faux monarchs almost, and then they, so maybe they're kind of, I don't want to give them any more credit after the way they wrote this episode, but maybe they're introducing an idea of that.
So the twins retrieve the prince, and he literally is like, I want my mommy.
He was.
He literally said, I want my mom. I want my mother. I was like, Jesus fucking Christ. Can we all just... Dragons are going to die for this. I can't stand it. I can't. Right. And then he runs like a baby. And then... so, I gotta admit, like, I was confused. I think the first time I watched it, which twin was like, I'm not going to get involved in this shit. And it was Eric. It was Team Black.
Eric with an E.
Yeah. He was like, if the little fucker wants to run, let him run.
Right. He says, when Aegon says, and why did you pay that price? Eric literally looks at Eric. And, like, his face is like, good question.
Yes.
Lets his brother take it from there.
Yes, I love it. And I'm just like, oh, God. Like, the end of this episode, okay, we'll get there. But I had anxiety with him and fucking Rhaenys. Anyway.
Yes.
So, Aemon tackles Aegon. And Aegon's like, is our father really dead? And so when they caught him, or when they pulled him out of where they had him stashed in this looks like this church of some sort, or whatever this was.
Yeah.
Like, why did... He was like, the white worm... He's like, where's the white worm? And he goes... they asked for a price or something like that, and he goes, you paid it? Like, so was he implying like he wanted to stay, like he didn't want to be found?
Yeah, like, she stashed him there in the sept on purpose, and he was just hoping that it would all blow over and that he could just slip away and nobody would be the wiser. He begs Aemond to let him go, get on a boat, and he's like, I'll never come back. You can be the king. And if Criston hadn't been there, Aemond looked pretty close to being like, okay, bye.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And excuse me, he's like, nope, you gotta take your ass home to mommy. So Otto is like, what is Otto doing in this scene?
Wait, what did you say? It blipped out for a second.
I'm sorry. Otto is like rolling a joint or something. I saw somebody in the group.
Yeah. Those are messages to attach to ravens.
Okay, yeah, I figured.
Yeah.
You know, his messy ass was like writing all day. He's like,
yes.
Getting these letters off.
Right.
So Alicent wants to show mercy. Now that she has Aegon, she has a bit of power here. She doesn't want them to kill Rhaenyra. And she's like, you know, there'll be no time for her to fight this. We're going to offer her something really generous, and my son will, you know, ascend the throne tomorrow, and we're just, no more dithering, she says.
Yes. Love that. Love dithering.
And she says that he's going to wear Aegon's crown and wield Aegon's sword to, you know, remind people of the strength of the Targaryen dynasty or whatever.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I felt like that was kind of like a fuck you to Hightowers, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yes. Yeah, it's interesting that she thinks she can, you know, like we were talking about before, that she can offer Rhaenyra any terms that would be sufficient for being usurped. And, I mean, the one thing I like that she says to him is that reluctance to murder isn't a weakness.
Yes.
And, are you there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes. Oh, I heard like a beep or something, and I was worried that it was blipping out.
Oh.
And then it's almost like I want to know what he meant when
I know what you're
he
say.
accuses her of. He's like, oh, what your husband wanted?
Yes.
Or what you, his daughter's childhood companion.
I was like, this
seemed really loaded.
That felt gay.
It did.
I'm going to say it. It felt gay.
Yep.
I was like, oh my God, do we just get gay?
It's as gay as the Hightowers get, maybe.
Because, listen, I don't know. I think it's Emily, the actress who played younger Alicent.
Yeah.
Who said that the character Alicent has been in love with Criston, and Rhaenyra knew that, and that's part of her. That's part of Alicent's, you know, anger and feeling of betrayal over this. Finding out that Rhaenyra had sex with Criston, and I was like, I didn't see that at all. Like,
no,
but
I don't think they put that in the show.
I don't feel like that's in the show at all. But I feel like if they've shown her to have any interest in anyone in any kind of way, that way, other than, like I said, those early scenes with Viserys where I couldn't tell if she was just being genuinely kind to this, you know, man who just lost or whatever. But I would say it's Rhaenyra.
Yeah.
That has felt gay since episode 1, frankly.
Right.
Yeah. I knew you were going to say that.
Yes.
Because I felt it too. Yep.
And then the way he finishes it out, she's expecting him. She's trying to be serious about it.
Yeah.
You know, like, we're going to use these emblems and we're going to do these things.
Mm-hmm.
This is what we're going to do. And he's just like, you look like your mom.
Oh my God.
It's just so patronizing.
You know what?
And she rolls her eyes. What?
I feel like you said that in a less creepy way than he did.
Yeah.
You said that like, oh, how cute. Like, oh, ain't you precious? You look like a grown up. And I felt like he said it like he was going to ask her to put on one of them hoe dresses.
Have you considered your mom's whore dress or something? Can you still wear that?
Yeah, I think you gave that a much nicer reading than I had.
True. Well, then he says, as you wish, which is the parallel to Daemon and, of course, the Princess Bride. We all know that when you say, as you wish, that means I love you. But it's not... The way that he says this is not really in an I love you way for me.
Right.
The way that he's handling this whole situation, he's very diminishing, and he's feeling like, okay, I'm going to give her this leash for now. Okay. And she imagines that she has something. But once Aegon is on the throne, she's not in charge.
But here's the thing. Does he want war, or does he just not care? I'm sorry, you guys, I didn't know that the mute doesn't work, and I'm like starving, so I'm eating like tiramisu, I'm eating animal crackers. I'm sorry, I'm hungry. It'd be a long podcast.
Is it because you're recording that it doesn't work?
Probably, but I didn't. Or maybe I have some weird setting with my mic to the computer. So does Otto want war, or does he just not care? Because he's making it seem like, to me, his "as you wish," it felt like he was saying, "Okay, like I want, like we going to Warden," and I feel like if that's the case, like if you really believe that's what's going to happen, maybe you try a bit harder to tell her that. But then again, they've had years. And instead of like working together towards this, they've been on opposite ends apparently. And so I'm just curious, do you think, like, what is he thinking going into this? He's like, all right, she's not going to accept, because I really do feel like he feels like he's right. Rhaenyra's not going to accept these terms. We're going to war. Does he think they can win the war?
I think he thinks that they stand a chance because they hold King's Landing. And I think he does think it's inevitable. Unless they end up sending, assassins or whatever.
Right.
So, I don't know what, show Otto is really thinking, but I do think that he thinks, it's inevitable either way, so.
All right, so the foot play. I really have no notes on this, and I think I kind of said everything I want. Like, I just hate that they did this.
Yeah. I just want to shout out to all the sweet summer children who did not expect for this scene to go that way. But when she came in and Lara said, hey, or whatever it is he said, and
he was like, hey, big head.
Right.
He was like, you
and
up?
She's like, the hour is late. And that's exactly what she said to her handmaiden whenever Viserys sent her that 2 a.m. booty call. And I was like, oh, we're going to get some sexual favors. And like every step of the way, I heard some people say that they still didn't get it until he put his hand in his pants. And I was like, what?
No,
every step of the way it was gross.
Okay, so let me tell the story. Oh my God. So, like a while ago, I don't remember what podcast it was. I think it was like She-Hulk. We were shooting the shit. I was high probably. And I was just like, our friend Ryan, I threw him out there and I was just like, has a foot fetish. Like, or what if he did? Or so, I don't even remember. But basically, it became a joke that our friend Ryan has a foot fetish. And listen.
This is a joke. We don't know that he does.
We don't know that he does. However, I do want to say, if you do have one, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with having a foot fetish. As long as it's like adult, consenting adult, that's fine. Do you. I don't care. But so
kinks are fine.
Kinks are absolutely fine. So I was just like, okay, Ryan has a foot fetish. We had a joke about it. So now we're watching the episode live Sunday night, and this scene begins. And he's like, I have some information you're going to want to know. And you're right. Like you, I got a vibe that this is... I don't know if my mind went immediately sexual, but I did get, this is familiar. Because it's like one thing to be waiting with like dinner because she's late to a usual dinner appointment. It's a whole ass other to be waiting in the dark in her bedroom. Like,
right.
At
midnight.
At the hour of the howl.
Right.
Sarah, get it right. So I was like, okay, this is weird. And then when she sits down and like, he's like, don't you want to know like why your dad is always like 5 steps ahead of you? And then that part felt a little, okay, this is normal. But then when she took off her stuff and she just put her feet up there, I was like, wait, wait, well, what's happening? And I feel like Donnie was really focusing, because I'm going to be honest with you, I was not paying attention to what the fuck he was saying the first time I watched this, because I was just like, is this a foot fetish thing? I just kept asking that question. Right. How about the moment I said that out loud to Donnie, we both get a ping in our group chat with me, Donnie, and John, and it's John saying, hey, you guys remember how we said Ryan has a foot fetish? And John is not watching House of the Dragon, so I'm like, what is happening right now in my life that I'm talking about foot fetishes with all these white men? Like, what is happening? What the fuck is John?
How can I make it stop?
Now, I'm starting to still watch the scene now. Now, at this point, his hand isn't even down his pants yet. I'm still just trying to figure out what the fuck is happening here. Donnie is now responding in the chat, and he keeps saying, go look at John's message, go. And I'm like, no, shut up, because I think there's a foot thing happening here. And I am disgusted. And then he stuck his hand down his pants, and I was like, Jesus Christ. And the more she gave away, like, she had to take off her stockings. And then when she knew it was, like, jerk-off time, she, like, turned away. She couldn't even, like, ugh.
Right. Yes.
Ugh.
So as we said earlier, there's nothing wrong with a fetish or a kink.
Mm-mm.
As long as everyone is consenting and it's not sexual assault, essentially. And that's what this is.
And I yeah, it's like, and she's a fucking queen. I don't know. Maybe
he's controlling and humiliating her.
Mm-hmm. And maybe they're going to say that's the point. Maybe they're trying to say that even then, even being the queen, women have zero fucking power. I'm like, okay, great. That's boring. And
well,
lovely.
this is, yeah.
But really, that's just an excuse for you to show the foot fetish.
Right. This is what her father set her up for by imagining, by teaching her that the only value that women have at court is sexual, essentially. And
go ahead, I'm sorry.
You know, the irony here, I think, is that, I mean, there's such like, where to even start? Why don't you say what you were going to say, and then
I was going to say that I think it's funny that she was like, wait, maybe I lost what I was going to say. Hold on. I'm talking about, sorry, I also have cookies in my mouth because I didn't know you were going to stop talking. But when Alicent is the queen, I don't understand why it could, like, we're supposed to believe that she has to do this to get information out of him, that she has, like, no other means of getting information.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't get that.
Right.
I don't get why we need that.
Right.
Also, her dad, earlier when he was like, I made you queen.
Yeah.
Like, but he admitted it. Like, I whored you out. Or I pimped you out, I should say. And I made you queen.
Yeah. Right. So you should be grateful, was the subtext.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to hear this from you right now.
But the main thing I think we're supposed to get from this, I think, exchange, yeah, I hate even referring to it that way, is the fact that I almost called him, Sarah, I almost called him Little Worm.
No!
And that's funny, the layers. Because first I was mixing Littlefinger with White Worm, and then he's also tugging on his little worm.
No, I don't need to think about that.
What do you mean? That's what we're talking about. That's the scene. I didn't write it.
No.
Anyway, that's his name from now on. Little Worm.
I don't need to think about the content of his pants.
We have Little Worm and Darkwing Duck. Those are the names. Oh, sorry. So, what's I? Sure, I forgot what I was going to say. Anyway, he snitches on Talia.
Yeah.
He was like, there are more like her. I can't even tell you how many. She had no idea.
The naivety.
I really
thought, like, what are you doing?
Because remember, like, way back in early episodes, like before the switch, before they changed actresses, I mentioned how they would, they made a point to refer to her by name several times.
Yes.
And she always seemed to be in the room when, when important exchanges were happening.
Right.
So how the fuck did she not see it if I saw it?
We saw her. Yeah.
She was like just shocked when he said her name.
Right.
Well, when she said her name and he confirmed it. Yep.
Yeah.
You mentioned this earlier. No one sleeps that night.
Yeah. Well, first I wanted to say that, this whole situation is so ironic because laying aside the foot fetish issue, that the whole thing with Alicent and Criston and their little words that they've come up together of decency and honor, and how they're calling Rhaenyra a whore for having a consensual, loving relationship with Harwin Strong. And now she's got this scenario with Larys Strong,
Jamel says
which is closer to selling yourself for information than Rhaenyra was not selling herself at all.
She's showing feet in racial chat rooms.
Right? And she's freaking doming Criston. Really, this is what you imagine to be decency and honor. But at the same time, even though she's using her feminine wiles or whatever, and like you were saying earlier, but even though she is using the power that she imagines she has in a way to, quote, manipulate them, they are still in control. Criston can go crazy at any time and run off the leash at any time and kill somebody, and then she has to deal with it. Larys is in control of their situation. He's extorting her. He's predating on her. She's not in control. She doesn't have agency in these relationships.
And he's been plotting this since he approached her when she was the teenage queen.
Right. And in the book, she repeats the belief that, the Westerosi belief that the problem is that Rhaenyra has bastards, and, quote, as we all know, bastards are monstrous by nature. But here is this monster. But and the show is making him a monster because of his disability, which they focus on when he sits down.
Yeah.
I just wish we could just strike this whole section out.
I don't know why they thought. I don't know why they thought that linking that was a good idea.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So
nobody sleeps. Eric comes in to take Rhaenys. He's like, I cannot. He's like, they got me fucked up, princess.
This treasoning is overwhelming.
He's like, put this on. We got to look like exiled Jedis. That's the rule. When going to do murder and when trying to sneak away, you must look extra suspicious by putting on
apparently
robes and hoods. Yes. And she mentions, as he's like, I mentioned this earlier, she sees Coswell's body being hanging in the like the kind of courtyard there, and she mentions that she would not want to leave without Melise. Is that her name?
Melise. Or Melise is how she said it in this. Yeah.
Yeah, she's like, I'm not leaving without Melise. Right. He's like, girl, we ain't got time for that. Like, every time she paused, like when she paused to look at the body and then when she paused to look at the dragon skull, I was like, girl.
Right, keep moving.
That's when I was typed in the chat, I'm worried about her. Yeah. And when she's like, I'm not leaving without my dragon, I was like, oh, God, girl.
Just get out.
So, I'm assuming what I took from this, but the show, I could be wrong, but I would also understand if other people are like, yeah, I don't know what the fuck this was. I assumed that this was Laris having the White Worm's home burned.
Right. That's who. Yeah.
That's what that was, right? Okay.
Mm-hmm. We've seen the house several times, but it is kind of nondescript, but that's what it was.
Yeah, I only felt like I recognized the shape of those windows, like when Taylor went there. Tala, whatever her name is. Talia. In the episode where we discovered who the White Worm was.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I just assumed, that he just had her murdered. Because
right.
the snitching
the
was
house
that.
Is burnt down. Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah. But because Laris has convinced her that this will take away an advantage to Otto, having this informant, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, Otto was going to do this anyway, right?
For sure.
Okay.
Yeah. And maybe he did it. He told both people he was doing it for them.
Yeah. You know what? I was just going to say, do they show, because this was one of those scenes, I'm going to admit that it was lit. Like, I couldn't really see what was happening. Did they confirm who the hooded figure was walking away from the fire? I just assumed it was someone with one of those, like, pins. One of his, the guys he cuts the...
I could not make out any feature.
Okay.
Yeah, I couldn't even make out a pin. So,
but this is definitely what he was offering to do.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're on the road to being king, and Aegon is like, he didn't even like me. Like, I don't want this. Because she's like, you could at least be grateful. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, how do you force someone against their will? Not just like, it wasn't like you were like, do this, and he said no once. Like, this has been a thing with y'all for years. He ran away from you. He was in hiding. He was like living in his own filth. He did not want this. And then to say, you could at least be grateful. Like, that's for you. You don't want the uncomfortableness of him reminding you of what a shitty thing you're doing. So you need him to like that it's happening. You evil bitch. I'm sorry.
Right. Yeah. I love it when people tell other people to be grateful. Mm-hmm. If they're not grateful, you messed up somewhere. Because, like,
I mean, listen, I want a running, like a counter of how many times Alicent is like, with his dying breath, and then somebody like rolls their eyes.
Right. Literally nobody believes her.
And then having her have to say, it's true. Like, I feel like she did it 3 times in this episode. Like, no one will ever believe her.
Yeah, because it's ridiculous.
Even the people on her side don't believe her. They're just like, great, thank you for finally contributing to the coochie coup by fucking, coming up with this lie. We can stand behind this. This is great. She's an idiot. Oh. Anyway.
And the fact that nobody believes her, and that it doesn't fit with anyone's vision of what Viserys would have done, how he felt, even her drugged out, drunken child fighting ring, sleeping in his filth in the sept kid knows better. That should make her think, you know what? Maybe I misunderstood what he was saying, because as it turns out, I don't know what he meant about the North and the Song of Ice and Fire.
He was like, Aegon's dream, and it's like, that kid ain't got no dreams. He's just... What were you talking about? He wasn't talking about your kid. Come on. Anyway, he asked if she loves him, and she's like, you imbecile. Like, that's not a yes.
I laughed so hard. Now, the second time that I saw it, it seems like she kind of means it affectionately.
Yes.
In the way that you might say this to a relative that you know is kind of foolish. But she's taking this opportunity to be like, okay, now I have you, and we're alone in the car, and I'm going to give you your father's dagger to prove to you that he meant it, because is proof when he died, so of course you can take it off his body. It's not like he handed it to you.
Yeah, makes no sense.
And he's like a psychopath, obsessing about the blade, while she is going on about, now you can't kill your sister, your grandfather's gonna to her. At the blade of her handing this blade to him as proof of his need to be king is that she's handing him the authority and the blade of being king, but not the responsibility that is built into the blade in the engravings, because she doesn't know they are there.
This is so much like Cersei with like, okay, so now you got to pardon Ned Stark. This is what we need you to do, okay? You need to get up there. Because honestly, I would not have been surprised if like the first words out of his mouth as king would have been to call for Rhaenyra's head.
Yes.
I was going to say, I didn't know if I lost you there. Yeah. Like nothing about this felt like...
What's stopping him?
Yeah, nothing about this felt like anything she was saying was reaching him.
Right.
Yeah.
He wasn't listening.
No. Nobody believes that that's not going to happen, right?
And that, like, it feels to me like neither she nor Otto are taking into account this monster that they've created.
Right.
And how they won't just be able to tell him, okay, I don't want you to kill Rhaenyra, or I do want you to kill Rhaenyra. He's a grown man. He can do what he wants.
They're going to find out.
He doesn't listen to anybody.
They're going to find out, like Cersei found out after she slapped Joffrey in the throne room, remember?
Right.
He's like, I could have you killed.
Yeah.
She was like, so they have like these poor people are like trying to just like go about their lives and shit, and it's like early in the morning, and they're just like herded into the dragon pit of all places.
Right. Yeah, there were a lot of questions, somebody asked me to address like why this was in the dragon pit. And
wait, I want to tell you why. Yeah. I know why.
Okay.
I know why.
Okay.
It's because of Rudy Giuliani's people booked this. And it was supposed to be 4 seasons. Hotel, and they got 4 seasons, lawn and landscaping, whatever the fuck.
It's King Landing Strip.
Right. It's like exactly
where the dragons
where
land.
the dragons land. Like seriously, you get what I'm saying? You feel me, right? Like why did they bring all these people into the place where there's just dragons chilling? I'm like, Jesus Christ. Like, and I guess that's why they had to force them. Like, it just felt like people were just trying to go to work and they were like, nope, detour.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the whole point is that she said, essentially what she said was, I want all of King's Landing to witness this, because the more people that see it, the more legitimized.
Right. Because they don't have the internet. So
right.
They need a lot of eyes.
But the reason in the book, the dragon pit is used, and Jill asked me to explain why that was. It's that it's because it's a dome, and that it's a sturdy structure, and there are actually seats for 80,000 people in here. And they also chose it because of the large bronze doors, because they were worried about the crowd revolting and trying to leave, and they weren't going to let them, and B, they were worried about it being disrupted by traitors, so they either wanted to lock them out or lock them in, depending on what happened. So they did choose the dragon pit for this.
I like that they were like, it's it has a lot of seats, and like people didn't really get to them seats, did they? I feel like things started and it was just grand opening, grand closing.
Right. They weren't allowed to sit.
Yeah. They actually, like, did it, like, I don't understand why it happened so fast. Like she said, we just need to get this over with. We need to get him crowned.
Get him crowned, yep.
Mm-hmm. So, the coronation itself, like, the music they played when he's, like, marching through and they're doing, like, the sword salute thing, that music was so terrible. Like, but, like, it was good, like, because it's Ramin Djawadi, like, but it was, like, perfect because it was, like, warning you that, like, nothing good is coming. Like, if you guys told me the name of that song is, like, War is Here, or the beginning of the day, I'd be like, yes.
It would be believable, yeah.
Like, if diarrhea came with a warning, it would be this music.
No!
Like, this is the music you'd hear in your head, like, when shit's just about to go down, literally. I hated it. Yeah. I can never watch this episode again, Sarah. I can't.
No.
I don't want to see this.
It's so gross. The first of all, I thought it was kind of weird that the crowd, even though the crowd didn't quite know what was going on, there was nobody who dissented. And in the book, like, the people, the small folk, were confused. Like, some people were like, yay, the king, and other people were like, yay, the queen, because they only caught, like, Viserys is dead, and they knew the Realm's Delight was next up in line, and they didn't quite catch what was happening, and they were, like, snatching people who said that and dragging them out of the crowd. And then when you have these... So they didn't have that at all in this version, which I thought was weird. And then you have the gold cloaks, which we all know from Daemon's experience. And Harwin was the captain of the gold cloaks, but in his, he was honorable in his way. But I don't think that we believe. For me, it felt very like stormtrooper-ish. That they were lined up. They're like dirty cops.
Yes.
And they're lined up with their dirty, dull swords that they were probably chopping dicks off with in the streets. And they just came in here and, like, swiped it off on their dirty cloaks. And they, and it's like the swords are closing behind him like he's being imprisoned into this role that he doesn't want. And he's got, like, full Anakin, with the black and the story. It's just...
Everything about, like, I'm telling you, like, I will never watch this again. It just was terrible. I said that crown looks like slavery. It's just like shackles. I hate it. I don't like it. I don't like it. I liked the design for it because it did feel very Dark Ages, like if this is in the past compared to Game of Thrones. Right.
But Aegon's conquest is another 200 years in the past from here. So it did feel like more ancient, but I completely agree with you that it was,
I mean, it fit him. You know what I mean? It was just like a whole ugly
he's a
affair.
terrible person.
Yeah,
yes.
Exactly.
Terrible.
Oh my god. And then they have fucking Jersey Jon Snow, like, crown him and, like, call and pronounce him king. And I was just like, he sounds so out of place. He sounds like he belongs in Entourage. I can't explain it. Every time he talks, I hate him so much. I hate him.
Yeah. I don't want to, like, necessarily slander the actor, but I agree that he feels more modern than a lot of these actors in this role. I don't know what it
is, right?
He's kind of, like, surfery, and his hair doesn't help. And in the book...
He is the only motherfucker in the Seven Kingdoms using conditioner. I don't get it.
Right. Right. And Criston becomes, after this moment, they call him the Kingmaker. Because the way that this goes down is, it's even more forceful. Like, this is almost like Aegon is participating. Like, after a certain point, he kind of, like, gets in the vibe.
Right. They're cheering.
But in the original version, it's more like he kind of pushes him into this and is like, you are going to take this crown, and if you don't take this crown, Rhaenyra is going to kill you and your brothers and your sister and your children, so kneel down, and he's like, Yet, like, I always get the
Jesus
impression that
Christ.
he just kind of, like, shoves the crown on his head.
So,
It's like,
you know what?
Take this.
I wonder if they're giving Criston some of that kind of forward, violent agency in those other scenes, and because they don't have it here.
Right.
If that makes sense.
And
Because
then,
that,
yeah,
like, because like,
yeah.
you know, like, that's the kind of thing, it's like, you said that, and I was like, how the fuck would he get it? What the fuck are we doing? Like, what kind of power is he
Right.
wielding? But in the
Right.
show, seeing him get away with the things we've seen him get away with in this episode alone, I could see them, you know, for that Criston being
Yeah.
that way. Yeah, but I couldn't see it
yeah,
in the show.
I like that.
In the show, I can't see them.
Yeah,
Aemon, first of all, Aemon would be like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Who are you talking to? He would turn like Daemon did when he was like, I can talk shit about my brother, but you can't talk shit about my brother.
Like, who are you?
Yeah.
Yeah. And of course, Criston has to, yet again, make some comment like, this is the true heir.
yes, yes.
Like, sir, just, can someone gag him? Like,
Yes.
God.
Yes. It's like, and that's so extra petty because they're hiding behind the, you know, what Otto announces after he says the king died, is that the king wanted this. So there's no need for you to, like, you
Right.
probably hear my dog panting in the background. He's about to go outside. So there's really no need for you to, like, get that little dig in there. Like, this is why we're really doing it. Or also, this is why you shouldn't feel bad about what we're doing because, you know, this is his true
Right.
born.
Yeah, these are the
newborn
small
heir.
folk. They don't need all that extra.
Yeah. Take it down.
He just said the king wanted him, and
Yeah.
they're like, okay.
That's it.
They don't need to know that.
But Rhaenys has snuck off. She snuck off, and that's when I was just like, when she got pushed into this, that's when I typed, okay, I'm a little less worried about her. But again, I'm thinking she's just going to escape. And I was like, that's it. That's all I need. Like, I wasn't thinking any of this was possible, but oh my God, it was. Meleys came busting up through the floor, the beast beneath the boards. Right as, you know, Aegon was really getting into it. Oh, I should mention, like, when they all kind of, you know, bow their heads to him, feels like Helena gave, like, a half-ass curtsy, but really just kind of looked away. And Aemon kind of looked off. Like,
Right.
like...
He did not.
He did not, yeah. He's like, And, like, what is... Aegon's now a king. What you gonna do? Nothing. You're
Right.
just... Yeah. But yeah, Meleys comes through the floor, and this was great. She's screeching. She's mad. Do you think she knew what was going on? Do you think Rhaenys had time to fill her in? She's like, look, you were about to go murk some motherfuckers.
Right.
And Meleys was like,
Oh, yeah.
what did they do? She's like, nobody and nothing. But this is what we need to do.
Oh, yeah. Some pretend Targaryens, and that set Meleys off. And she said go out the front door, but Meleys was like, no, I'm going to Kool-Aid man this shit.
Yes.
And
I
tell
love
them what I think.
And I love that, like, she doesn't give the order that I think everybody wanted her to give.
Right.
But the dragon, Meleys still stepped forward and put it, like, all in their face and then screamed. And, like, I didn't see her order that dragon to do that. I feel like the dragon was just like, I'm waiting for her to say the word, bitches. That dragon was that meme. She's like, it smelled like bitch in here. Y'all been up here treasoning and plotting. I heard you. Y'all have my girl locked up for 2 days.
Right?
That's not like her. I knew something was wrong. That's why she busted out, honestly.
It was so good. So good.
Oh my God. She looked amazing in her armor.
Right.
What do you call this stuff on the shoulders? That looked almost, the coloring in the breast area looked Targaryen, but the shoulder stuff reminded me of, like, her husband's
Yes.
armor
It was
and
kind of
helmet.
like that smoky gray.
Yeah, yeah. So I wondered if that was a thing. I don't know.
Yeah, it's not really. I mean, the design that they've got going on here with her outfit, I don't even care that she put on full armor in like 2 minutes. Like, awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, good.
I mean, I
whatever.
buy it. I know
Right.
what we are capable of in a rush.
Yeah. And she was powered by pettiness.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
And she was so judgmental, you
yes.
know?
Yes.
It's great.
Now listen.
Yeah.
I know we're going to read the feedback in a moment, and I'm sure there are people who are going to be like, well, you know, I know we all wanted her to burn them, but here's why it was good that she did. Man, I don't care. I don't care.
Right.
I'm going to tell you why I don't care. I'd have burned them simply because they locked me in my room. So you can save all your other shit. I'm telling you right now, the audacity of these fake Targaryens, as you call them. And I don't know. I guess this is now a good time before we go to the feedback. What the hell she was supposed to have been thinking. I understand it. You know, someone said it's like Alicent saying, I'm not going to go murder his daughter and his grandchildren, you know, regardless of what I think of her or whatever. I'm not going to do that. You know, some people were like, well, is it possible that Rhaenyra would have been like, I didn't tell you to kill my brothers and sister? Like,
you did this. You plunged us into war.
Right. Like, I don't know. Like, if she just felt like she wanted that headache. Like, you know, like when you find out, like, your friend's boyfriend's cheating, and then it's like she forgives him, but she blames you.
That 100%. Yeah.
So I don't know. But
I can see why Rhaenys is not one to start a war.
But I will just say, I just want to reiterate before you say what the show says she was thinking.
Right.
I understand everything. I still would have done it, and I wanted her to do it. Go ahead.
100%. And that's why I have not been gifted with the dragon.
Exactly.
In life.
That's why I don't listen. My petty ass. Oh my God. Just genocide.
The powers of the universe understand that I can't handle that.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
But yes, so Sarah Hess, who is one of the producers, but she was also the writer of the episode with Ryan Condal. Her explanation, which is so enraging, is that Rhaenys left Alicent alone, one mother to another mother, because she just couldn't do that to another mother, which is absolutely ridiculous.
Okay, first of all, she wouldn't be doing it because she'd be dead too. She wouldn't be a grieving
she was
mother.
standing in front of Aegon.
Yeah, she was ready to take the bullet. She knew what she was doing. She was doing what mothers do. You should have obliged her. What the fuck is wrong with you, Rhaenys?
She closed her eyes. She took her last breath. Just bathe her in flames. Game over. Right?
From one mother to another.
But and then somebody else said, I think this was Miguel or Ryan, that Rhaenys said this isn't her war, which is incorrect because her granddaughters are involved in the war by being betrothed to Jace and Luke. So that's garbage.
And it's not like she's...
And then somebody else said...
But even if that wasn't the case...
But, you know, she goes on and says other crazy stuff. Like, she has claimed that people aren't certain of Daemon's relationship with Rhaenyra and what he's capable of. She says that she doesn't think we should think their relationship is hot. She goes on to sympathize with Aegon, even though he is a rapist, because, quote, he wasn't taught consent.
Who
because
said
his parents weren't good parents.
Who said all this? Okay, but no, that's good because you were saying like a lot of good and interesting stuff, and I was saying some stuff, but I didn't want to interrupt you. So that works out. But we had technical difficulties, so I had to call her back. She couldn't hear me, you guys. It's kind of like what was happening to us that other time when it was me, and I'm just talking. But I was gonna ask, who was saying all that stupid shit?
Sarah Hess, who's one of the producers and also one of the writers of this episode.
Okay, Sarah, please stop talking. See, that's why I don't watch that shit. Because, like, it's not even, it's not like, how can I say this without sounding? Like, I'm thinking, like, it's not her war. First of all, bullshit, because it's going to be everybody's war. Because that's how a war works. And some people are going to suffer more than others in this war. And if you thought how are you writing the show and don't think that the Velaryon family wouldn't be involved in this war, even if her granddaughters were not betrothed to
Right.
the queen's heir and
Yeah.
her other son. Like, how did you think that was going to work? How would they? Once this began, she knows that Rhaenyra wasn't going to bend the knee. Like,
Right.
it's already war. So, like I'm saying, like it's been war. It's her war, and she could have ended it before it really jumped off.
Right. Yeah.
And the whole
and
mother shit is so like, okay.
Like, what does that even mean? What does that even mean? I hate it when people say stuff
I
like
have
that.
2 kids. I'd have burned them motherfuckers, but that's just me.
Yes.
I absolutely, and I mean this I'm not just saying it because it's a podcast. I'm not just saying. I would have, knowing everything, not to even to what's to come, but knowing everything that I know, like up to this point, there's no reason I let them live, and nobody can touch me from leaving that place after I do it. And somebody who's not gonna allow any shit like to blow back on me is the woman I'm gonna go snitch to. I'm gonna be like, girl, let me tell you what they tried to do.
Right.
I would not be able to wait to go tell her. Girl.
Yeah.
Girl.
Yeah.
So I don't know. And it may
yeah.
not be the right thing. Like, maybe we would have somehow still plunged into some sort of, I don't know. But I absolutely would have burned them. And I'm a mother.
I agree. I think that, like, in this case, I think it's, it's interesting that the book version had Aegon climbing on to Sunfire, which is his dragon, and taking like 3 turns around the pit so that everybody could see him in his crown on his gorgeous dragon.
Of course.
And then landing, and then everybody's like, "Woo!" But Sunfire wasn't here, So like this version of the Hightowers, for me, I just thought it was appropriate that the second they all relax, because like Alicent is like, oh my god, and Otto is like, yes, and like the coup literally explodes in their face because Targaryen might can't be contained. They think that because they're using Blackfire and Aegon's crown, that they can take these Targaryen symbols and subsume them under the Hightower umbrella. But they always forget about the dragons. They think that dragons are pawns. Dragons aren't pawns. They're monsters. Like the whole point of the dragons, and this was what Viserys' problem was with them, is that you can do whatever you want. And this is what you're doing to the realm. This is the embodiment of the royal carelessness with commoners' bodies that happens right here. The Hightowers talk about dragon power, but they don't understand dragons or what it means to be a dragon rider. And that's how Alicent continually miscalculates with Rhaenys and Rhaenyra, and how the whole family and the council miscalculates with starting this war, because Aegon is not a Hightower. He's not one of them. They think he's one of them.
Yeah.
He's not.
No.
Dragon riders don't have to bargain with you. What Rhaenys does here is this is a warning. She's saying,
yes,
you're making windows in your prison with gentle persuasion. I'm breaking out of the prison and smashing it down with my dragon. And we're not the same.
Yeah.
We're not the same. They just don't get it. They do not get it. And maybe now they do. I don't know.
Well, I hope so. I really hope, like, Rhaenyra isn't on some bullshit. Like, I'm just going to say now, and I'm going to read the feedback. Like, I really hope she don't send that baby out there. The scenes for next week. Oh, again, I usually say this at the beginning, and I didn't. Though Sarah doesn't spoil the book, we do talk about the next week on scenes. And just like last week, or excuse me, this week, We spent all of our time with the Greens. We're going to spend all of our most of our time, I think, at Dragonstone, it looks like. I did see, I think, Aemon in that trailer, and I saw, I believe, it looks like a repeat of the scene with, someone coming to Dragonstone and Daemon pulling swords, and I could not tell who it was.
It's Otto and Orwyle.
Okay. So we're going to spend a lot of time with the Blacks and seeing their reaction to the stuff that happens in this episode. And one of those things is Rhaenyra being counseled about what to do. And I got to say, I love the line. I think it might be Rhaenys. I'm not sure. No, maybe it was a man. I don't remember. But somebody tells her something like, you have at your disposal, like, the most powerful, the backing to your cause. Basically, these dragons.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, but also don't send those babies. So I don't know who Jace is talking about in the scene, but he kind of like slams his hand on the table. He's like, send us. And I was like, first of all, send them fucking where? Because what? Like, you better not send them to King's Landing. Like, where are you sending these babies? First of all. Second of all, who is he talking about exactly when he said us? Because it's not just him, but it's Luke standing next to him, but also there's Rhaena and Baela. And I know of the 4 of them, 3 of them are dragon riders, but they're still babies. So I'm like, if she sends these babies out in this war, I'm going to be so upset. Because just, Rhaenyra, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And here's another thing. Like, I'm just going to say it. And I know all of you book readers are going to be so upset with me because you already read it and you know what's going to happen. And I know a lot of bad things are going to happen. And I already know, like I said, like, now I know how 2 characters go out. I had to look up Criston. I had to do it. Sorry.
Yeah.
But, like, I'm just going to be so frustrated every time these Greens get a W.
Yeah.
I'm just going to hate it. I'm going to hate it. I'm going to rant about it every week. I'll practically cry about it.
Right.
So, just get over it. Don't fucking lecture me about it. I'm going to hate it. Okay? So she doesn't do it, and she leaves, and her dragon is beautiful and red and lovely. And I think you mentioned in our thread that this is why we didn't get that close-up of Meleese before.
Right.
They were saving it.
I guess they were saving it.
Yeah, and now I'm fine with that because, again, this is not what... I thought she was just going to get away. I thought, like, they were going to be, like, clapping, and you're just going to hear a dragon screeching outside, and they're going to be like, oh, shit, we didn't lock the doors.
Right. And some people were suggesting, like, why does she have to come up through the middle and kill all those small folks? Like, I don't want to hear
that's why.
any whining about these small folk. These people are terrible.
Listen, I've learned my lesson from Game of Thrones. Stop defending the people of King's Landing. They're all terrible.
They all just came from the fighting pit, okay? No, I mean, not really, but... and they're like, well, she could have gone out the back way, and then you can hear her screaming, and they look out, and they're like, oh, no, she got away. No.
That's what I thought was going to happen.
So much better.
This was so much better. Absolutely. Tell them people hush. Okay. I like how the Gold Cloaks were like, there's a dragon loose, close the fucking doors, we got to protect the realm, and Otto was like, open the doors. And it reminded me of something that happened. Are you watching The Walking Dead?
No.
Oh, fuck. Okay.
Not really. But you can tell me. I mean, I'm reading reviews, so.
Okay. So, like, yeah, it's not this week's episode. It's, like, the previous one. I think so. It's, like, 18. And Donnie and I are going to watch 19 and then record for both of them. But, like, in 18, that one terrible guy, the governor's son, he's like, a walker's attacking him. And he's like, help me. Sarah, I swear to God, that scene was, like, 5 minutes long. It was just 5 minutes of him waltzing with this walker, not getting bitten, but, like, screaming for help. And there's, like, a ton of people just standing there like, nope, fuck you.
Right.
If they had cell phones...
I'm not getting involved in that, yeah.
If they had cell phones, they'd have been recording it. It was hilarious how he was just like, please help. And they were like, yeah, no, can't do it. And I feel like that's what those people outside were like, yeah, no, we're just going to close these doors. You stay in there with that dragon.
Like... how incompetent. People are trying to get out. It was very like, Septa Baelor, where, she's like, open the door. And they're like, no, we're going to close them even harder.
Yes. And Gold Cloaks is like, fuck this. I'm not fucking with that dragon. Y'all deal with that shit. Stay in there. And I love it. At first, I thought Otto was like telling them to open the door because people were getting trampled or whatever. Like, he didn't give a fuck about them people. He didn't want that dragon business. He literally didn't want the dragon smoke.
She stays in here, and we give her one more second to think about it.
Yeah, so she doesn't do it, and she leaves, but it was still amazing. And, yeah. All right, let's look at this feedback.
She's such a badass.
The first one to get their feedback in was Kimberly, and this is super, super long. I glanced through this, and I saw, she says, when they were first looking for Aegon, my only thought was, who is Rapey McRaperson off raping now? Okay, so I'm going to start with the beginning, though I don't know if I can read all of it, but because of the way she begins, I think this is important to read. She says, let me begin by clarifying my stance on Rhaenyra, because I don't know if you like Rhaenyra. I can't remember. I feel like, Kimberly, we're watching something and you're responding and like you hate the person. I just remember me and the other co-host being like, what? Is it Rhaenyra? I'm not sure. Anyway. Let me begin by clarifying my stance on Rhaenyra. At this point, I am more team Never High Tower than anything else. So I can see that. I remember having the same frustration. I get you. Time and time again, we have seen Rhaenyra make stupid moves that undercut her claim to the throne. Oh, wait. Can I just say that I think that's extra frustrating, too, that I feel like Alicent has been a better player than Rhaenyra has been. And I've said that. But it's kind of frustrating to see in this episode that she's just really being handled and like
she's not being a player at all.
Anyway, she spent years refusing to do basic royalty stuff despite knowing that as a woman she needs the support of the court and by extension the people for her claim to stand. Rhaenys explained this to her plainly. I could see her continuing on the path of I'm the princess and eventual queen and continuing to not engage, produce children who are so clearly not her husband's, etc. if she was not so well aware that treason to depose her is afoot. She abdicated her role, her voice, and her chance to prevent Alicent from cultivating supporters for years. I'm not even getting into the whole Criston mess. She knows her nightmare half-siblings hate and assault her children, yet rather than prepare them for battle, she is focused on telling the oldest boy that he will one day be king. It's great that her children are nice, but she has seen firsthand through her father that nice was not real fight gets you manipulated. Her 99% dead father hopped out of bed and walked on a chicken wing to give her son legitimacy, and the minute shit goes left, she leaves again rather than remain in King's Landing and shore up her position. But like seeing how they did this, like, so the page discovers Viserys dead, because at this point it's Viserys dies, the only person that knows is that little boy, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah.
And he goes and he tells Taylor, right? Rhaenyra is there. What does Taylor do? With that information. Does she tell the queen? Can you hear me?
What? Repeat that?
Okay. So Rhaenyra stays that night, right? Viserys dies. The little boy finds Viserys, so he's the only person that knows, right?
Right.
He goes and tells Taylor. Now, two people know. But Rhaenyra is there in this scenario. What does Taylor do with that information? Does she still go to the queen?
Yeah, she still goes to Alicent.
Then what do they do? Alicent goes to her father?
Yeah.
And then
they lock Rhaenyra in her room. Like they did with Rhaenys.
Okay. So it's better that she left.
Yeah.
This worked in her favor.
Unless she was going to sleep next to Viserys in a chair, then that would have changed the whole dynamic. But if she was not going to do that, then she needed
Which
to
is what I said
there.
I would have done.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's probably what I would have done.
I definitely would have done it.
Because it's my dad, but
right.
But, different strokes, and I get it. It's the story. Anyway, The only smart thing she has done is marry Daemon, and while strategically no, wanting him played a huge part in that decision. Until Rhaenyra stops acting so damn dumb, I can't be team her. The closest I am to her is team Daemon, and he's a whole ass murdering, scheming agent of chaos. Okay.
Otto, is this you?
Right. Okay. Return. Actually, hold on. I want to read this, what she says about the end, because I think that's like everybody wants to talk about. The end scene had me screaming, "Come through, Rhaenys. That's why I fucks with you." Let that bitch and her unholy minions know. She let them know that she's not the one or the two.
I love that.
Me too. Rhaenys came with that big dick energy that Daemon, and unfortunately for their side, Aemon, the demon spawn, has. Yeah, I want to see their reaction to like almost dying by dragonfire. I don't know. I might be humbled a little bit, but I might be a little.
I feel like
wow.
they'll just not take that warning.
Yeah, no, they're just well, they're men, so most of them. All right, so Anton says, "Dear Nina and Sarah, this entire episode reeked of treason." Hightower was absolutely the worst with his stop the steal bullshit going on. The Greens showed their entire ass this episode. Ew, ew, ew. I don't understand why the writers keep on painting Alicent in a sympathetic light. Is it for the merch? They're really trying to both sides this war for the merch, it seems. But let me remind y'all, Cersei was the absolute worst, and we still had Lannister fans, myself included. So maybe if they just went full evil queen with Alicent, I might respect her a bit more. But who am I kidding? Team Black all the way, baby. I'm sure this is the 667th comment you've read today about why Rhaenys didn't torch everyone on that fucking days, but you know what? I still support her, of course. I'm also team the queen who never was, baby. She read Alicent to filth about still participating in the patriarchy's bullshit, and honestly, I lived for that speech. I don't know how I'm going to survive the finale. Lots of wine and Ativan, most likely. Love y'all, Anton. Yeah. Don't forget your challenge, Sarah, as I'm reading this feedback, okay?
Okay.
All right. Kadeem says, "Hey, Nina and Sarah, I hope you both are well. It's been a long time since I've left feedback. Is this true? Maybe season 6 or 7 of Game of Thrones, but Hot D is too good to not interact with you both. I could just heap praise y'all, but that'll turn this into a dissertation, and who has the time, honestly? To my point, I know we all hate Aegon, but I just want to say I love Tom Glenn Carney's," I'm so glad you said his name because I did not know the actor's name, "performance throughout. I will say I did enjoy his performance in this episode.
Yeah.
His casting raised a few eyebrows, I know, but he was picked for a reason, and I think he showed why, subjectively speaking. Yeah, I agree. I thought he was really good in this episode.
He did a great job. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Especially his ascension to the throne scene, for when he's walking through the guards just hating his life. Right. He was almost in tears, and then the change in his demeanor when they start cheering for him. It was all that love and affection that he never got from Viserys.
It was. He's forever looking for validation.
He was like, "Oh, this is all I had to do. I had to let my grandfather do a treason, and people love me." Brilliant. I haven't got there in Fire and Blood yet. Jaehaerys is still king and is too peaceful, but I know he's going to become an even bigger monster. That's all for me. My apologies if I rambled. Much love and take care. Nope, that was super short. Thank you. So that Mimi says, and this one's kind of long, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Sarah, pick a number between 1 and 6.
5.
Okay. Also, Aegon's trips to the kitty cage fights this is Mimi, by the way, sorry, have an interesting continuity. In Game of Thrones, the rogue named Biter, oh, you mentioned this, so I'll read something else.
Okay.
Okay, so she mentions that the noseless guy, Vorg, I don't know how to say his name, was Biter's keeper. And that's just fucking terrible. Aemon was the other character I had my eye on. That madman in the brothel doorway must speak for some of the fandom when she... Oh, madam. I said madman. Must speak for some of the fandom when she was sizing him up. Well, I get the impression, like, that's who he lost his virginity to, right?
Yeah.
Because he said he brought him there when he was 13. And then she was like, "You've grown." And I was like, this is gross. Yeah.
But I assume, I mean, she doesn't look that old, so, you know, she was probably a teenager herself.
You know, this show, though, I don't know what they're trying to say about people's ages anymore. You know what's interesting? I wonder how other people take it, but it's not really working for me. The way this actor grunts, remember how Tom Hardy did it in Taboo? This guy is doing it, and I don't know why he's doing it. Like, I don't know.
It's Witcher shit. He thinks he's the Witcher. And I don't appreciate that.
Because it'll just be like, he'll just say something, and he'll be like,
He grunted like 6 times this episode.
I know.
It was weird.
It is weird. It's like, if it's a tick or something, cool. But, like, if it's not, like, it feels like the actor making a choice that this is, like, a thing that I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah.
I don't know what he's doing. Anyway. Yet his tone when he recalled Aegon taking him whoring was so off. The way he talks has a strange cadence in general, like he's translating his thoughts into passively appropriate conversation. It's like beep, boop, boop, beep.
No.
Which made it even funnier when he side-eyed Sir Criston's self-righteous babble about women being sacred. Yes, that's one of the times he was like, okay. I cannot picture Criston without that goofy hat now either. Oh my god. It was like something out of like Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Right? And it looked brand new. Like if they were trying to blend in, it definitely did not work.
He bought it just for the mission. Like right, they got to some like vendor stall and he bought that.
Yes, I was just gonna say it looks like he grabbed it out of like the gift shop on the way out of Maegor's Holdfast and like didn't even rip off the tags.
I do want to read. Okay, I want to read this part. This is still Mimi. She was saying what I think we both said. Like the time has really like flashed by, and that she loved the episode's music and build up, which we agreed with. It was interesting to see more of King's Landing. That wasn't just a Littlefinger brothel or a riot. True, just people trying to go to work, and next thing you know, they're being trampled to death by a dragon. Anyway, before I get ahead, what Nina mentioned last week about Aegon's alcoholic look was spot on. A serious alcoholic's eyes can start looking pushed back from a mix of inflammatory bloating and electrolyte issues. Plus, the stunted growth is absolutely true. No idea if it was coincidental or if the makeup team extrapolated from the character's backstory. Anyway, I love little details like that. Yeah, me
That's
too.
a great point.
And I would hope that that's... Otherwise, I mean, they got to know. Like, we're like, how did he just stop growing? Like, you know, like...
It is weird. Although, now I feel like the first episode that they... What was that? Even last episode? I feel like it's been like years since then.
Yes,
but I'm over it now. Like, I feel like I get it. So...
Yeah. I mean, and he's here to stay apparently until hopefully he dies a horrible, violent death. Fingers crossed. Okay. The character, obviously. And finally, Peyton says, I had to write again. Okay, so I'm super confused because I don't see... this is the only email I see from you, Peyton, so... and it's for this episode, so... anyway, he says, the queen that never was, spinning the block, was amazing. She even put on her spinning the block clothes, but I will leave that discussion to others. The topic of this discussion is Laris asking a queen what them feats do. No. Show me what you're working with. A girl, I know you're working with something. Put the little piggies up on the table and let me look at them. Ew, you somehow made it worse. We, all them little piggies going to market. So
no.
Seriously, no, they're not. So Peyton has some questions. How did he first bring it up to the queen? Yeah, I mean, this is shit we would have liked to have seen, but, you know, time jumps. Why would he risk it when he could literally get eaten by dragons? Why would she agree? She could have cold choked the info out of Laris. How did they establish the different levels? Shoes off, socks off with a hint of calf, feet up on the table, and coup de grace, the finish. Was Alicent keeping up with her petties just for those largest barter sessions? She had them feet buffed and shining for that free. These are all good questions.
Yeah, she did have nice pedicure feet for somebody at that time.
Yes, they all have good. They got good teeth. It's amazing.
Right.
Laris is hands down. Excuse me, feet's down. Freak of the week. He is. he is. I don't know why they had to do this. But, yeah. I'm just going to assume a man wrote that. Jokes aside, Alicent was surrounded by odd dudes, even her kids, and she exercised some control over them in her own way. But did she, though? She's like, I feel like she took her, literally, her alcoholic son, and she gave him a car, a Ferrari.
Right. And then said, don't run into anybody with this.
Especially your sister.
And then, like, pointed him at her.
At Dragonson. Like,
and handed him another beer.
Yes, absolutely. And Otto was like, as you wish, whatever, this is what you want. But secretly, it was like, yes.
Right.
It's like her
Otto
stupid...
switched the brake and the gas pedals.
Yes. He's like, she's just like her stupid mother.
Oh, God.
Anyway. I can see how Larys's disability could take a left turn and lead to obsession. But really, though, I mean, I'm not disabled. I just feel like that's insulting to disabled people.
Right.
Well, actually, I am, well, not in that way. Because, you know, it is true that people who wear glasses, that's a disability. But we've just... That's
right, you don't have an eye fetish.
Yeah. But, like... And I was going to say, you don't really get teased for it, but I guess as kids, do kids still tease? I don't know, I'm so out of the loop. Do kids still tease kids about wearing glasses?
Oh, sure. They tease them about anything.
Yeah.
You know, they tease them about wearing a green shirt. Like, kids are dumb.
It's just like, it's not such an odd thing. Like, so many people wear glasses. The fact that this is still, like, a thing. Or, like, girls who wear glasses aren't attractive. Like, that type. The fact that that stuff still exists in society, it just... We're headed nowhere good, Sarah. We're just
sure
going backwards. Anyway, he ends with saying, "Great episode, love the podcast, keep them coming." Thank you, Peyton. Thank you very much,
everybody.
Yeah, so that's it for this week. Unless Sarah, you have something you want to circle back to. I feel like I kept you all night. We actually started a little bit later because we had like a bazillion issues.
Let me grab my notes out from under my cat and make sure I covered everything.
Oh, but while you look at that, I do want to just say, if she sends that baby anywhere next week, I'm going to be mad. That's all I'm saying. And I know you can't say anything, and you've been making faces, but I'm just like, oh, Rhaenyra.
If anybody tells Nina what happens next week, I am gonna find out your government name and your address, and I'm gonna come to your fucking house
with her dragon. Wait, we didn't do the thing. You have to do the thing. What did I give you? Two words. All so right. Where do you think the only book readers will get? But that'll confuse the hell out of the rest of us.
I don't know that this is going to be that confusing, but Storm's End.
Okay. All right. Well, we know that's a place. Okay. So something happens at Storm's End, apparently. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. Who are Storm's End? Those are the Baratheons, right? Mm-hmm. What have we seen of the Baratheons this season? We know there was the one who made the joke, right? At the joust, the queen who never was. Was he the same? I think it was a Baratheon, but I don't know if it was the same Baratheon. Is he the guy when Rhaenyra was looking at husbands?
Yes.
Is that it's the same Baratheon?
Correct.
Okay. And is he still around? Because we haven't seen him since then.
He may be.
Okay.
There's a change in hands of Baratheons, but they may just simplify it and keep one. And
it's somebody they've already cast or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
okay, so that's it. So there really hasn't really been that much with the Baratheons then, I don't think.
Yeah.
We know that they back Rhaenys, right? Or they did.
Because Rhaenys is half Baratheon. In the book, she has black hair because her mother is a Baratheon.
Ah. So is it... so I don't know, are we to then assume that people at Storm's End would back Rhaenyra? And is that why something happens there or something?
Well, they did mention in the council, the one house that they mentioned was they have to reach out to the Baratheons.
Okay. What was the other house? I don't remember. What was the other house they mentioned? I don't remember.
I can't remember what the other one was.
Okay. All right. So And obviously that had to be, I was about to say, wait, when that was in this episode or the scenes next week?
Yeah.
Okay.
This was in the small council.
Okay.
Where they said, oh, we have to... Okay, at one point he said, send ravens to our allies in Riverrun and
That's right.
Highgarden.
That's right.
Somebody else mentioned Storm's End.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, Tylan said, Storm's End is a problem. Boros has 4 daughters.
Ah, Boros. That's the guy from the beginning.
Right.
So it is the same
So
guy.
I guess it's the same guy.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know, like, how that could go then. Because if they send, like, Criston to... Because then what would they be sending people for, like, reach out to just be like, hey, Aegon's king now. We can count on you. Like, fucking...
Right.
Poll workers.
Exactly.
Count on your
Yeah.
support.
They
Okay.
gotta tick off all the houses and figure out who's on which side.
Okay, so whatever is going to happen in the finale, like where it ends, you think it's going to be, your hint is Storm's End. Okay.
Yep.
Yay, I'm super excited. Anyway, thank you guys for listening. Sorry that it took so long to get started. Sorry that it was such a long podcast, but you know how we do for this show. My dog's about to start showing his entire ass, so I'm going to go. Thank you guys for listening, and we'll talk to you next week.